need to do some action on HRD.
Sir, boliye.
We have discussed a lot, but a lot of action to be taken.
Yeah.
So hopefully pandemic is going to be endemic and we must get into action.
Hope that it does not become academic.
But I suppose that cannot be done virtually, that has to be done face to face.
Correct.
Because virtually काफी हो गया. I mean, we are now, it's too much. We need to get into the fine dining.
Too much of home delivery food.
Yeah, no, this is pizzas and this is
True.
fast food.
True. True.
So
True.
fine dining, talking, being with the people, shaking hands and hugging, and we are missing that. Sanjay ji can watch me.
Human beings stand for that warmth.
Absolutely.
They look forward to that, and that's missing. So how much ever you digitalize, of course, there is no substitute to digitalization now, but the hybrid model will certainly be there now.
Yeah. But in between, we need to do it. Good
Yeah, of
morning,
course.
Siddiqui-san.
Morning.
Hi, Siddiqui.
Namaskar.
Saklen is looking
Namaskar.
smart. Saklen,
morning.
I
How are
like
you?
your
Great to
shirt,
see
man.
you. Sanjay, great
Terrific
to see
shirt. Terrific shirt.
you. Dr. Rao, good morning.
Sir, good morning. Good morning.
Hi, Raji. Welcome.
Hi,
Good morning.
hi, morning. How are you, DK?
Morning, Rajiv.
Ashish. Oh, great to see Adil is there. Sanjay.
Yeah.
Hey,
Adil,
Rajiv, how are you?
How are you?
Fine,
Yeah.
fine. Siddiqui Saab, how are you?
Salam. Rajiv
All
sahab,
well,
salam.
all well.
Yeah, very great.
Adil को आज पकड़ के लाया आशीष. He misses a
बहुत
lot.
अच्छा किया. बहुत अच्छा किया.
Thank you. Sunday है तो पकड़ना आसान था.
Hi, Sanjay. कैसा चल रहा है?
Hi. जमाना हो गया यार.
हाँ,
आपको
बहुत.
देख
बिल्कुल.
long time. All
Very
well?
long. Despite the fact that we are neighbors in Mumbai now.
Yeah, of course. You're back in Mumbai, is it?
No, not is it. Not is it.
Okay.
He is our neighbor now in Noida.
Okay.
हम
Rajasthan
मिलते नहीं,
है
हम
बॉम्बे में?
कोविड में
Where
एक
are you
बार
coming?
मिले थे.
Best.
Rajiv, where are you coming in Bombay?
We are starting now, sir, because of the time. And its recording is on. So good morning, good evening, good afternoon in whichever time zone you are. Thanks all for joining. And this is the part 2 series of HR Legend. Part 1 happened yesterday. Most of you, those who joined, as of now, I can see almost 100 people are there. Okay, more will be joining. We had 230 delegates yesterday. So this was long due for my side. It was supposed to happen even before COVID. I thought so, there will be a such gathering, I should have done it. And then COVID came, and then I thought virtually it is more possible and add more people, because then people can join. And that's the benefit of, automation, digitalization, beauty of all this key. People can join from anywhere, give some time to us and all. Yes, there were some thought process behind why it is kept 10 minutes. TEDx gave us 7 minutes. So it is little beyond the TEDx. And this is kind of 10 super rapid fire session. Yesterday there were 15. Today we are going to demonstrate and see the 10. And each one of you have been our mentor, coach, guru, you can call it about entrepreneurship guide and all. And more or less, more important, you must have taken interview of so many people who are joining today, must have recruited many people as well. And that came across in one of the conversation yesterday as well. So whatever time, if I put it, that will be really less. Believe me, even half an hour, 1 hour, half day, 1 day, it would be really less. It's like Twitter forces us to concise our thought in 180 character. Perhaps, that can be one idea. Okay, let's hear from you, your immense knowledge can really come into 10 minutes, may not come definitely, but 1 or 2% part of immense knowledge is coming in 10 minutes. That is more than sufficient. Yeah. The format of the discussion is please share anything related to personal, professional, anecdote, story, growth, what are the learning from today's and all. Feel free to share anything. Just one discipline, one thing, okay, time management is the most important because we are back-to-back session. Yeah, somewhere I can compensate, but to large extent I may not be. Yeah, Adil ji, thank you for joining today. Yesterday you couldn't join, so Adil is going to be part of second panel. And I was
adjusting.
Yeah, and I was going through the list yesterday. So introduction I know because I can't introduce everybody with the actually what you've done. Okay, so what I will do, I will introduce with the name because it's already there in the social media and all. Okay, where are you working? What are you doing and all? People know that. But in the chat box, I will keep posting your name, detail with the LinkedIn profile and the Twitter ID. So people will get ID also, and they will at the same time go through this. So yesterday I was going through all this, and so we had a almost total number of year experience of yesterday's speaker were more than 400 to 500. Mr. DK Bakshi was there. Okay, so that came to 400 to 500, and today it is coming to between 350 to 400.
I have my doubt, Ashish, with Dr. Rao around, the experience will be 600 years by himself.
Yes. Yeah.
Absolutely.
If you really
Well said,
convert,
Adil.
yeah, if you really convert into knowledge, then obviously Dr. Rao is always ahead of each one of us. Yeah?
But many of us, like younger people, is pulling it down.
Yeah, that can be one way to look into, but experience always experiencer in terms of count and all. Yes, so total coming for today's speaker is coming 400 on an average 35 years. So thank you so much once again for joining us. So now what I want to do is I want to begin with I want to begin with the first session, Mr. Adil Malia. Okay, and he was part of, as I said, okay, I'm just looking into data. Yes, here it is, so that I follow the schedule properly. Yes. So here is that Adil Malia, very close friend. I know him since many years. Thank you so much, sir. And he has a more than 40 years of experience. Okay. I will pick up the name of last two, which is SR and Coca-Cola. And over to you, sir, to begin the first session. Then we will go to follow the sequence like.
So Raju naam change kar rahe. I think they are joining on that link. Raju Badoriya ka naam bhi Ashish aa raha hai.
I will change.
I know, yeah, that's right. I just saw that. Yes, that's
true. Keep changing that. Whoever is joining.
Yeah, I will change that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Over to you, Adil.
So thank you very much, Ashish. Thank you very much, HR Shapers. Good morning, all my dear friends, friends personally on the panel, and all of you who are at the listening end. Good morning to you for a fine Sunday. What I thought I would do within the limited time, because I understand the limitation of time, is to share with you the alchemy of whatever little success I have had, but there has been a certain formula which over the period of time, not initially, but with the first few years of my experiences, when I was always in a situation where I had a question in my mind, what is the parameter or the formula or the alchemy that I used to use to be able to create little success? I thought I'll share that with you. Alchemy, as you all know, is that magical powder or a magical power of transmuting a common substance, usually of very little value, into a substance of great value. Something which you may sprinkle, or the chemistry or the formula that you have, which has the ability of converting ordinary metal maybe to gold. And therefore, there is a certain formula that I would like to share with you. All right. So, everyone in life is searching for success. And I was not far more different in my life. I was also, when initially I joined post-TISS, I was doing my law, etc. I was also looking out for success. So no pretensions about greatness that I was not looking out for success. I was as ordinary, as humble as usual. And I was looking out for success. I made my mistakes. I spoke to my friends. I spoke to my seniors. I spoke to my professors. And over a period of time, I have learned a very, very simple formula, and that is this, that other factors being equal, All right, so I'm doing a little economic act on it to say that other factors being equal, the chances of your success in a new situation or in any adverse situation is a function of your balanced blend between your rational and your intuitive drive for the fulfillment of your purpose. All right, looks like a long, complicated statement, but it has only 3 or 4 elements. And I'm going to share that with you because that's the only learning I have to share with you at this point. So it is about a balanced blend between the rational and the intuitive drive that the individual has for fulfillment of his purpose. So there are 4 factors. Number 1, it's a balanced blend. You have to learn to balance, and I'll talk about the balanced blend. Number 2 is there are 3 critical elements I want to talk about: rational, intuitive, and empathy. The third is there is a certain drive you need to have. Unless and until you have that drive, you are not going to succeed. So it is the rational, intuitive, and empathetical drive for fulfillment of your purpose. All right, and I'm going to take each one of this and be able to share with you what I mean by that, because ultimately that's the formula which I believe has brought me success. And if you follow, possibly it will bring you also as much of your ability to succeed in any given environment that you face. So number 1, as I said, one is a balanced blend. What does it mean? Now, when we see situation, a paradox of options arise before us, and we have to keep choosing. Now, if options were not paradoxical or so easy to choose from, then there is no question of choice. It's a no-brainer. You automatically go to it. Your intellect will tell you this is so obvious, you don't need to do anything. But unfortunately in life, and even in today's experience that you're running through, the options which are there are multiple options, and there is a paradox of choices of this or that. Not one is always the best. You could work with one option, you could work with the second option also, you could work with the third option also. So there are multiple options that you could work with, and therefore there is no one best option. And therefore the trick of success, and like my Zoroastrian religion at some point of time, and so also the Hinduism, talks about blending. So it is not either day, it is not either night, it is neither only darkness, it is neither only the bright light, but a blend, your ability to identify the blend, which is the source of your success. And that is one thing very important. How do we, given the options, manage our balance? So that's the most important thing. And the balance is the answer between a paradox, which means that are you going to be totally risk averse, or are you going to be taking a risk? And that is very important when you're choosing the parameter of your success. How do you manage the balance plan? The second is the choice between rational, intuitive, and empathetical. So when you are facing a challenging situation, when you are facing a new situation, or you are facing an adverse situation, there is a rational prompt you have. Your logic, your education will tell you a pattern of how the model should operate on the basis of what you're thinking. There is a certain intuition from within, which is the original problem-solving mechanism which was built into the human design by nature itself, that it prompts you to get into the answer. Over a period of time, our rational thinking and our models and our logic has made us forget the intuitive, and therefore, how do you conveniently create a blend between the rational and the intuitive, and also necessarily the empathetical? So between an empathetical situation, an intuitive situation, and a rational situation, if you really want to succeed, you will have to find a balanced blend between these 3 optional directives that you get to choose your right choice from. There is a comfortable symmetry, a comfortable frame, because we have been so familiar with logic, we have been so familiar with reasoning, that we tempt to look at every problem only from that framework. But that is where we really get out of step with the situation, because there are many more situations which require going beyond the logical and the rational and the cognitive frame, and to start using the intuitive frame. If I look back at some of the successes that I have got, I have used the rationale, but I have never really let go the intuitive prompts I keep getting, and use the intuitive prompts to create a hypothesis which you can test out with your rationality to say, why can't this prompt be also used to find a solution? And that is the second element I wanted to talk about. The third element I wanted to talk about was drive for action. Now, unless and until you really want to get into unless you have action bias, there is no way a person can succeed. You can keep analyzing, you can keep doing it, you can keep blending, you can keep within the trap of your rational, your emotive, and your empathetical, and your intuitive, and you can be brewing the stew within yourself and yet not succeed even after finding the right action, unless and until you start taking your action. Now, this drive for action is very, very important. All right. It talks about action orientation. No one succeeds unless and until he's action oriented. It also talks simultaneously about resilience in times of adversity, as to how, if you're action oriented, you may fall down and you will still get up. It talks about milestoning your plans. So your action plans have to be milestoned. Over a period of time, you need to evaluate how are you faring against those performances at the milestone points, and developing what, say, someone like a Talib says, an anti-fragile leadership, which is using adverse situation to scale up beyond the original plan you had when the situation was not so adverse. And this is about driving for action, which is something that I always allowed to get into. I would put a certain kind of a time frame and say that, okay, I'm going to analyze the situation up to this point, but beyond this point, I would like to get into execution and keep modifying the plans as I go along. Rightly, as Rumi said, which is translated into Urdu, which says, "Mansil to dhoond lenge, bichhad ke hi sahi, gumrah to wo hote hain jo ghar se nikalte hi nahi." So if you keep getting into the frozen zone, sorry, hello? Okay, all right. So action orientation was the third. And the fourth was action orientation for what? Action orientation for the purpose. Your purpose needs to be very, very clearly defined. Your values, your value creation journey, at the same time, through the values that you are subscribing to, is one of the most important purpose you have. How do I create value? By adhering to the subscribed values which help me to create value. Happiness, flourishing, fulfillment are very, very critical, but they all need to be milestone, they all need to be measured, and therefore your drive for action should be for purposes of fulfilling your purpose. So this is the kind of formula that I have in mind, and I thought I would share that with you, because I genuinely believe that any situation that you are in, other factors being equal, the chances of your success in a new situation or in an adverse situation is a function of your balanced blend. And we discussed that between your rational, your intuitive, and your empathetical alternatives to drive the fulfillment of your purpose. And that is very important. Why you need to do that? Because you want to succeed. And therefore, whenever you find situations which are going to flop out, remember this one little quote with which I would like to end, that हासिल होगे वो ऊंचे मकान, तो पहला कदम चल के तो देख, फिर जलेंगे वो बुझे चिराग, तो चिंगारी बन के तो देख. You need to become that chingari, and then you will succeed if you keep the formula in mind. Thank you very much. I thought that's what I would share with you within the limited time I have.
Thank you so much, Adil. So that was a great opening, and success, failure, keep moving on, and all. Wonderful story. Yes, keep inspiring us, to us, all of us, and fraternity. Okay, from here I go to the next speaker, and that's none other than, he himself is kind of one of the institutional, and I hand over to Dr. T.V. Rao. Okay, he doesn't need introduction, but I will just touch upon as a total, I would call it, sir, more than 45-50 years of experience. Okay. And we all know he worked in IIMs as a professor, and then he is the founder president of none other than well-known HR body, which is a national HRD network. So we look forward to hear from Dr. T.V. Rao. Over to you, sir.
Thanks, Ashish. I must confess that I do not have much of new thoughts today. Whatever I have until yesterday, I kept posting in the Facebook and LinkedIn. So for some of you who are following me, it may not sound entirely new. But there is one thing that I like to add to my last conversation on intellectual capital, where I have maintained and I still maintain that all of us carry with us an invisible capital. And quite unlike the share price of companies written or available every day on the Bombay Stock Exchange or New York Stock Exchange, our value, intellectual capital value, is written on our face. And it is seen much by everyone himself or herself. And if you want to make others see it, you will have to go, I think, an extra mile, like what Adil has said, maybe you should be acting. But I would say, even before you act, you need to think. Thoughts are a lot more important. Like today, we are exposed to, let's say, Adil's thoughts. Although he emphasized on action, I thought is the. So the intellectual capital value of all of us consists of the knowledge we have, attitude, skills, the traits, qualities, the self-concept, and that's where I'm adding every thought that you have adds to your intellectual capital value. And I also call it as an invisible capital. And I have also recently talked about Maslow's need hierarchy being revisited. The last 4.5 years of our existence under the pandemic, all people are equal. All are laborer, you all be subject to same kind of an issue of COVID-19. If you get it, you survive or don't survive, we just don't know. I think we lost many people, and we also have many people who survive. And my own experience in living in the last 1.5 years is that you don't need much of financial kind of backing. I think we were in the first 6 months, we were living just with about 2 to 3 pairs of clothes. And all that we needed was something like about 10,000 rupees for a family of 3 of us. 10,000 rupees a month. It's, I think, is equivalent to the lowest of the salaries anyone, including probably. So when I thought of it, I revisited Maslow's need hierarchy post-pandemic, and I said that I think the most important need for all of us across the globe is the need for survival. You have to survive. If you survive, if you manage pandemic or manage anything, if your survival needs are taken care of, that is a little bit of food to eat, etc., a little bit of sleep and things like that. Then comes the second order needs, which I call as the security. And there are 3 or 4 types of security, which includes emotional security. You need to be emotionally stable, secure, satisfied, not get into depression. You should have economic security, and you should have health security so that you make sure that you're going to have to survive for the future. Once these 2 categories of needs are taken care of, that is where I come to the most important thing. And we are all people, not only we, I think most people, they are taken care of. Even if for some reason, if they are not taken care of, government says, look, we'll make sure that you'll get certain amount of money. We don't want you to die and things like that. So you come to the third order need, and that is identity. Each one wants to be something, wants to be known for something, not necessarily known by others, known for himself or herself. The identity, and that is where the intellectual capital value comes into picture. Your intellectual capital value provides your own identity, and you could multiply it every day, provided you become sensitive to what is happening to you. How much are you learning? We should all be. I think I'm different today than what I was yesterday. After listening to about, I did sit through the entire thing about 13 of those speakers. I'm different at the end of it. I have some knowledge, I have some wisdom. Even if I don't learn anything from them, I will learn something that I have not learned, then maybe my eyes and ears are not open at the time. So we only have, let's say, 50 years of work life. You have about 18,000 days. Every day can add to your intellectual capital. You have sensitive to that. And when you become sensitive to that, you establish your identity and you start growing and you start making a difference. Now, when I look at all the role you are playing, Ashish, or the role Uday Parikh has played, I still remember Uday Parikh in the year 1960s. He was known as bibliography man. Most people don't know that he was known as bibliography man because he did what Google is doing today. He created a bibliography of all the researchers on India and by Indians living elsewhere, and so there are about 5 volumes of bibliography at a time when there is no internet. All that you need to know to do research for all research scholars is to pick up one of his directory of behavioral sciences, look at any topic you want on prejudice, you want on management. I mean, that is what Uday Parikh has done in terms of helping people to add their own intellectual value. And that's what, in a way, Ashish, you are doing with your HR shaper, going to colleges, going to all kinds of. And that is what network was supposed to do, and it was doing it. I think it's doing it so beautifully. It was different when we conceptualized. There were no internet available, there were no emails, and in fact, to make an STD call was difficult. And that is when we promoted. We started with a HRD newsletter, which used to be mailed to about 2,000 people free of cost and made them all members. And today you look at HRD network, I think it's everywhere there and using internet, a lot of things. So when I look at life, I think all people like Uday Parikh or HRD network or Ashish or LNOD or any of these or whatever, I think lovely blogs which Adil is putting, a number of people in this particular team are doing it. They are helping, they are sources of helping people to build their intellectual capital. So my only suggestion to people will be, please recognize people around you as the biggest sources of adding to your intellectual capital. Let us help use each other to build our intellectual capital and constantly establish our own identity. Because today we say everyone is a leader. I mean, you don't need to say, I look for leaders, everyone. I mean, look at the kind of webinars, kind of people who are participating in the webinars.
Sir, we are losing you in between.
Yeah, I'm closing. I'm saying, therefore, I think to build intellectual capital, your own capital, you should become sensitive to your own ability to constantly learn from each other, have self-respect, have respect for other people. And this is where the HRD departments become global. It's now, and in fact, I kept saying every CEO is the first HRD manager. And therefore, the job of HRD department is to promote this kind of collaboration, coexistence, care for each other, and become more of a spiritual function meant for all. In my last AGM, I attended a HRD network. I suggest that I think HRD should go to schools. I think that is where entire development starts. I think we have a long way to go, but I think we have phenomenal. The pandemic, we have realized and discovered many insights. So my suggestion and appeal to all people is recognize the invisible capital you have in you and constantly keep building your own identity and keep growing on your own identity in the hierarchy. You only need 3 levels of hierarchy. Thanks, Ashish, for giving me this opportunity to share a few of my thoughts, but other thoughts are all available in Facebook. I hope.
Thank you, Dr. Rao. Yes, Mesla Suraki need, you said, yes, need for survival became much more important. And yes, no need to say that this group of people who are here today speaking, and many who are part of the session, and those who are yesterday as a super class leader, all of them extending their support in a big way to entire HR community. That's what I have seen, You keep interacting, talking, teaching, learning, and sharing all the knowledge. Thank you so much to all our HR fraternity. Thank you once again, Dr. Rao, for your immense knowledge and biggest contribution to our HR community and HRD fields. Please be there. Request to all delegates, please engage our speaker through the chat box. Keep asking questions. And to all speaker, if you are responding, please select the option panelist and attendees. If you select only panelist, response will not go to them. They will not be able to see. Great. So we are on the time, and there were two different. There were two sessions which were lined up. So we are missing. Mr. Srinivas and Mr. Dwarkanath, who were supposed to be there before Dr. TV Rao. But let's see, I did ping them. If they join, then we will take them. Great. So we are on time. I go to the next one, and from here I go to, yes, we have diversity in the panel. Yeah. And here, I hand over to Dr. Sagrika Ghoshal. Okay, Dr. Sagrika Ghoshal is, okay, she is having more than 35 years of experience. Last 3-4 companies, I can pick up the name Metro Cash and Carry, Reliance Big, and Bharti Airtel. Over to you, doctor. You can hear us. You need to just take on the video as well. Dr. Sagrika, you are there. Can you hear us?
I am, but I think you have. And
okay. Okay. So now just take yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes, you are on. Yes.
So good morning, everybody, and firstly, my warm greetings to all the panelists, especially Dr. Rao, because it's kind of drishtakam to speak after him, but I still do it. And all of you, my seniors, I think it's a pleasure being here. And the august audience of HR Shapers, and thank you, Ashish, for bringing me here. So, like you said, diversity, and I think I work on inclusive workplaces, and I will start with that my moment of truth did not come all at once. So today I am going to not share in terms of HR, but I'm going to share my lessons learned throughout my career journey on being an HR professional. And I think that is what I want to do today. Like I said, that when I had come to Bombay to study in NMIMS, I could fly an aircraft, but I didn't know how to speak in front of 10 people at the go. I was this shy little girl who had the tenacity to dance for 6 hours because I'd learned classical dancing. But when it came to speaking on the stage, I think I would fumble and I would, hide behind something so that I am not asked to speak anywhere. And from there, I think a lot of people I heard that they get to choose the company. They decided which company they would work for. I did not have any such background. I came from an honest bankers. Parents and upbringing, and I really didn't know which organization to choose. So whichever came in the campus, I think I was considered very lucky. So that I have got a job with this very first class airline who had the best of the products, who had best of the backing, most charismatic leader, and so on and so forth. And I think this was my moment to lean in. So I got my job. I also got a job which was extremely fulfilling. I got to do a lot of things. It was eye opener for me, and I think I also, from this shy little girl, I had started to be in HR. So I had to speak with people. I had to interact with people. And being in HR, you're always expected. Like you must be hearing all the time in your life that so and so from sales, but the moment it comes to HR, they say that HR girl. Unfortunately, so. So you are always that HR person. You never have a name in an organization. So I don't want to talk about what happened to the airline, but one fine day we heard that the same charismatic leader who had best of the products and best of the airline was broke, and the airline was sold. Well, I think that was my first lesson at workplace. And I knew that there were loaders, that category of people who had families to feed, who had no savings. There were a lot of people who have lost the job overnight. As an HR person, you always heard all the stories which they brought to the workplaces, and you knew how much it was needed for them to have this organization running. And you couldn't do anything because you knew that the business is gone down, and there's nothing what could happen. And I really learned that first lesson, that theories what I have learned in my college, the skills what I had learned in my college, in my textbooks, were of no use. Were of absolutely no use. You know, that particular time you had to think on your feet, and what helps you is that how you implement. So I think that is the time I learned my first lesson, which was that never lose your quest for learning. Learning happens when you listen and you practice reflecting conversations. And I think that was my first lesson. Then over the time, I think I moved to another large organization called Airtel, which you spoke about. And that was the time I was a seasoned HR professional with already 10, 15 years of experience. We were talking about large outsourcing. And I think that was my moment of truth when we went with our final presentation. And I heard our chairman speaking one thing, which I really liked. We were not really prepared with the people transition bits very, very well. And you know what he said, that it is, and that was the second learning which I had. Never compromise on the quality. A launch delay or a presentation delay or something, a delay will be forgotten. But a wrong delivery, a wrong quality, a wrong people transition will never be forgotten. So I think it's very important to stitch all the pieces and then probably move forward. Diversity is something which is very key word, and I always hear that from the recruiters as well, that they need a diversity. Well, I don't know what that means, but I didn't want to be a diversity candidate. I wanted to be hired in an organization because I was a HR professional, and I think that is where it came from. Although I did one, but I also learned that never become arrogant. And it is always good to remain humble and always fair, and be always very, very fair and respect the dignity of people. Even if it's a lady on the other side, if you tell her that she is a diversity candidate, sometimes you really don't like to be hired just because you're a lady. The third one, which I really learned through all the transitions, especially being an HR professional, is it's very important to stay calm. It's a very simple thing, but I think, when in a tough situation, it requires your all self, and becoming stressed only makes things worse. So it's easy to say, I know, but staying calm and for HR people, I think is very, very key. Being authentic, transparent. I don't know whether as an HR professional you can always be that or not, but putting up a facade might not help. So it's always good. I have learned to be honest at your workplace. With that, I think I have my learnings as an HR person. It's always good to be on the people side, but you have to know how to balance between people and the organization. That is very important. To end, I think I would like to say the two myths which I learned in my professional life was that best practices don't exist. It's very but it's true. Best practices is a big which from other organizations, best practice is only the best practice for your own. So you have to really work on what it is. It's good for learning, but it's actually not good when you come to implementing. And I can't resist this last line of equal opportunity. All the organizations say equal opportunity to all the diversity candidates, but I never forget that you are less than 30% in an organization, and you always have to make that extra effort. Last learning, courage is good to have, and courage of your conviction is always good. So all the women who don't give up at the workplaces, I think that is where lies the success. It's very important to stay on, to give your best, and make sure that you are in an organization because you are a good professional, and not because you are there for your gender. And with that, I think I would like to say a big thank you. And the learnings are galore, and I think it can't be really summed in few minutes. You all can connect with me in LinkedIn, and Ashish will certainly share the details as well. I would love to engage on how we can create more inclusive workplaces and women feel more than a diversity candidate.
Hey, thank you, Doctor, touching upon more than diversity. So earlier it used to be D and I, now it is called EDI. Equity is being extended. Tomorrow it may be something else, prefix and suffix. Welcome. Good. Thanks for your all knowledge sharing. Please be there. Delegates, again, as I said, engage our speaker. Keep chatting in chat box. Okay, we have Mr. Srinivasan has joined. Thank you for joining, sir. I will just take your session after this session. And now here is one of the biggest motivator, I would call him. Okay, the moment you see him, energy is coming on, and he's none other than our Mr. DJ Bakshi. Okay, more than 35 years of experience, I would call it. Okay, he keeps traveling and all, based in Malaysia, Thailand, and India, North America, so many countries. I will pick up two company names, sir. That is Indorama and the Luxor. Yeah, over to you, Mr. Bakshi, and looking forward, and thank you for taking my request yesterday to give a vote of thanks.
Good morning, Sawadee-khap, Namaste, Sasadiyakar, and Salam Alaikum. All my HR legends of today, whom I know very closely, personally, professionally, and it has been always a learning experience with people like Dr. Rao, Mr. Siddiqui San, Sagrika, Sanjay, Rajiv, every one of you, and even yesterday when we had GP Rao and we had Aquil Busrai and all that. Then I look back to my 34 years of my HR career from a small company, all of you know, but I tried to make it big in that company because of power of positivity. People here know about it. I remember when I used to work for Luxor, Parker, a small company, with Mr. D.K. Jain, and at that point of time, some of the best practices we had, even at that small 8 to 9 units in Oakland. It was like, when Gillette became part of us, it was so tough for them to look at the practices what we had, even Gillette did not have. And I remember there were a lot of issues and challenges, but with the support of many friends, even some of them are sitting here, who supported as true HR friends to the organization, we moved forward and we created not only domestic as well as international awards of Kaizens, the quality circles, the Aapke Sujavs, the Mike Sharp's thing in Boston. When he traveled to India, he was amazed and amused to see what kind of work we did. And we went beyond that. And I remember with Siddiqui San, when he was part of the New Holland Tractors that time, created corporate cricket tournament, because Siddiqui San is again a cricketer, a sportsman. And we involved 30 companies in NCR at Jamia Millia, supporting them every year with, I think, 5 to 8 lakh rupees funds. We involved Bishan Bedi, Abdul Wasan, many other Jadejas and all that. And we involved families into that. That was led by Siddiqui San, and I was his deputy for that. And we were covered by Ajdak and all the newspapers in the country. What I am trying to share is that a small Luxor Parker company, which became a multinational company with Gillette, had smaller practices, but with the power of passion and power of commitment of that entrepreneur called Mr. D.K. Jain, whom Mr. Siddiqui knows very closely, we could drive it to a larger extent. Then after that, I moved to Thailand with another very small company. And it was again, I could discuss always with Mr. Siddiqui, what do I do? I had another opportunity here, which he knows about it, a director HR, because he was going to Maruti. And I moved to a very small company called Indorama Ventures, $160 million at that time, just 4 to 5 plants in Thailand, which became big. Today is $10 billion, number one in the PET polymers in the world. And there, again, we created movement of quality because TQM was part of my DNA in HR, and it became a very big opportunity of not only driving total quality management in Thailand, but taking over then plants around Lithuania, Romania, Netherlands, England, North Carolina one side and Alabama another side in the US. I remember finally we moved to near about 19 locations in the world. And you won't believe, and I am very proudly talking about here, that in our OGP Lithuania, a very small Baltic state in Baltic country in Europe, we were the first investors and Asian investors. And when we created the quality circles in our company, it became part of industry. I remember it was 2004. And by 2009, Lithuania had the quality circle in the entire country. And on the national day of Lithuania, the president of Lithuania spoke that quality movement in this country, in the industry, was started by an Indian company, and he took the name of our company. That's a very proud feeling. We knew him very closely, and that is how we grew and moved further. Having said that, working with Asian, American, as well as European companies, taking over companies, integrating them. I took over near about 9 companies, and greenfields were 8, total 17. It was one of a great experience for an ordinary HR person from India. But I had one thing in my mind, that was energy and action. Whatever I could decide, I would put my heart and soul into that with complete action, 24/7. Then the dream of my global talent, which is a well-known company in Asia Pacific and North America today, ISO 9001, 2015, SAM certified, Dun & Bradstreet certified. Again, when I started this organization, again, some of my very close friends, and I again repeat, again this fraternity, again my close fraternity supported and said, yes, go ahead, we are there to support you. And this company was floated in my drawing room in Bangkok, and then it took forward. And today we work in about 16, 17 countries around the world. And with Roadmap to Success, Siddiqui-san is a promoter of Roadmap to Success. Sagarika has been there. Even Sanjay has been there many times. Dwarika has been there. Aquil has been there. GP has been there. This Roadmap to Success 1999 started by us along with Padma Shri Dr. Preetham Singh. And I took it forward into the global world in 3 continents. And today, Roadmap to Success is one of the powerful signature programs around the world. Along with that, I could add DNA of leadership, one dream, one team, romancing with your destiny. And then further on, after starting this global talent, and we did a lot of massive work. Again, it was umbrella mentoring concept, which was built up. It's a CII case study for Maruti Suzuki. 4 years of intervention of igniting minds, sense of belongingness and moving forward. Having said that, this has been the journey of complete passion and looking forward to moving further. And then our organization today is at UNDP, UN Women, USAID, UNECA, you call any United Nations organizations, we are the preferred service providers, especially on transformational leadership around the world, be it Afghanistan, be it Saudi Arabia, be it Nigeria, be it Ethiopia, Laos, Cambodia. Unfortunately, till India, I have never done any work for any United Nations organization. Looking at this concept of creating this one dream, one team, and then the pandemic came, and pandemic destroyed everything. But ladies and gentlemen, and my friends here who know about it, two major interventions by global talent. One, hashtag Women Power, a global movement. 20 chapters in the world today with a mission of 1 million women to be on this platform by 2024, irrespective of caste, color, creed, nationality, and religion. Every Saturday evening, one of the celebrities, starting from Kiran Bedi, Shivani Kashyap, to Sister Shivani, to ambassadors, you just name Shazia Almiz, and even the Bollywood stars now coming on my show, Malini Avasthis and all that. This show is a very powerful show, and today people come from different parts of the world to be part of this one. And the second one which I started is DNA of Leadership, which is the signature program. And when I spoke to my friend Siddiqui-san, he said, create a new DNA of leadership. And he is the first person to be on that show, followed by army generals, police generals, sports personalities, Bollywood personalities, business leaders, and all that, except political. I keep politics away. So even the pandemic of 15 months, when chips are down, when we have not been able to make money, global talent has not removed even one employee from the company and kept them on and kept the flag on. With that concept, what I am trying to share, when I as an ordinary person can do it, why can't others do it? I'm just giving it to the youngest time because a lot of students also here. And today we work on a program called RUS, Reskill, Upskill, and Special Skill, into the program of rebooting and revitalizing and regenerating, and especially on SMEs. So finally, and Dr. TV Rao has been part of my programs, and we have a roadmap here created. That's what I was talking him before the session. We need to take that roadmap forward. What at the end I would say, so far as DK Bakshi is concerned and global talent is concerned, A, always ready to learn new things. That's the philosophy. B, old enough to take risks. $350,000 salary, and you take a risk to be an entrepreneur in a foreign land and start a company. Madness, but did that. C, commitment and power of communication to all levels of employees and stakeholders. D, dedication for giving away all the time. Giving away, give away, give away. And never give up strategy. E, excitement and thrill to be vibrantly networking around the globe. And today I have a network around the globe, followers of near about 650,000. That means ordinary people with an extraordinary determination and passion and perseverance can build extraordinary businesses for themselves, can help other businesses to go, grow, and grow. That at the end, the dream, the mission, the action, and energy. These are the four things in my mind always. The dream, the mission, the energy, and action. At the end, I say, खुद ही को कर बुलंद इतना, खुद ही को कर बुलंद इतना कि हर तदबीर से पहले खुदा बंदे से पूछे, बता तेरी रजा क्या है, बता तेरी रजा क्या है. God has been very great to me, and the friends here, and the friends yesterday, and many other friends, be it from Dr. Singh to Kiran Bedi to Siddiqui Sahab to GP Rao to Dwarika to Sanjay, all the Dr. TV Rao, all Asha Bhandarkar have been my friends. And whatever I am today, and I repeat, whatever I am today, the credit goes to all these friends for making me go, grow, and glow. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr. D.K. Bakshi. Action, energy, motivation. These are the words I can associate with you, your personality and approach. Thank you. Looking forward. Delegates, again, as I requesting, engage all our speakers. Thank you so much. Okay, from here I go to none other than Mr. S.Y. Siddiqui. He's the chief mentor at Maruti Suzuki. Okay, we all know his long stay with Maruti Suzuki, more than 40 years of experience. Last three company I can pick up. Maruti is one, obviously, then Holland Tractor, if I'm not wrong, and the DCM. Correct? Over to you, sir. Looking forward to hear from you.
Thank you, Ashish, inviting me for this series. And when you told about this HR Legend series, I was not very sure whether I am a HR legend, but I think good enriching career, good learning, which I will definitely share. But I wanted to share one thing is that I came into HR by accident. Actually, I was moving into the cricket side, as DK said, and I was looking at going right at the senior most level. But as luck would have it, 1978, I bumped into Kapil Dev in that university cricket tournament, Rohinton Baria, and I saw Kapil doing 326 in one day. And that day I got a zero. So I thought that is the right time to realize a big talent deficit. So better to shift gears. And that is how I got into my HR career, 1979 onwards. I think roughly 4 companies, 40 years plus, working with great people, very good senior professionals, Indian companies, multinationals. When I look at DCM, Toyota, Escorts, Fiat Group, worked with Italians, with English people, with Australians, with Americans, with Belgium people, all kinds of global colleagues, big learning. Therefore, of course, working with a lot of Japanese people in my earlier career and now with Maruti. Also, I think I would like to acknowledge some few names with whom I have worked. Real legends, Mr. R.C. Bhargav, currently chairman of Maruti. Mr. Jagdish Khattar just recently passed away, a great MD CEO when I joined Maruti. Mr. Nakanishi, the first Japanese MD in Maruti. Currently, Mr. Ayukawa. And DK mentioned about Dr. Preetham Singh. I think our mentor, guru, friend, philosopher, guide, and I'm indebted to a lot of my learnings working with some very, very legendary people. Few learnings very quickly because 10 minutes, Ashish said, less than 20 kind of a, cricket. So maybe hundreds what England is promoting. So very quick. One learning. Always look at building your own professional identity. That is what I did right from Escorts, taking risk, having a difference of opinion with people, but not conceding my views about whatever I assessed of a situation in HR, whether business or people, I had my own view. Building my own professional identity. That can come with a lot of homework, lot of detailing, and lot of kind of ownership, entrepreneurial kind of spirit that I own my position, my responsibility, my performance accountability. I am accountable to myself also. One. Perhaps when I'm looking at the second perspective, and I think DK has reflected something similar. Adil talked about something similar. I believe in collaborative working with relationships, very strong, positive interpersonal relationships all across business leaders or outside external community, government stakeholders. That to a great extent also brings into picture the blue collar situation, industrial relations, where excellent kind of interpersonal relationship with union representatives, honest, fair, ethical. And that to a great extent has helped me in my career, especially working in global situations. This has come as a huge success to me, and not getting into a conflicting role, not getting into an egoistic role, not getting into an arrogant kind of a role is my big learning, which I am sharing with you people today. Third perspective, and I have been talking about it for many, many years. I never ever was comfortable looking at HR as a staff function or support function. It was very uncomfortable to me that some such thing is not required by business. So HR, I looked at unconsciously right from the beginning as a business function, accountable to add value to business and balance it with people aspirations, people well-being, people welfare, both. And therefore, and I brought that kind of a change in DCM Toyota when I was little experienced in Daewoo Motors, in New Holland Fiat for sure, because it was a thorough professional multinational company, looking at HR as a business function, and Maruti for sure, a huge, huge shift into what it was and what it became when I joined in 2003. But when I look at some such perspective, and I am just talking to you about one such need, HR leadership, in my thinking, also requires guts and courage in communication. Stating the right as the right in front of the board, in front of the CEO, in front of the global CEO. And in my case, I think this started with a bang in New Holland. Somewhere I was asked to come to London to explain to them about the Indian labor law situation when we were just about to start this project in Greater Noida, New Holland track. And when I made this presentation to a top leadership team of production, operations, and HR in London, my boss, the big guy in London Brentford office, said that, Mr. Siddiqui, you have to talk about this retrenchment a little bit more clearly. I said retrenchment technically there in India, but professionally not possible. And he said that our top leadership in Fiat, Turin, will not like this kind of a suggestion. I said it is not a suggestion, it is a reality. So whether you want to postpone your investment, withdraw your investment, do whatever, but my presentation will remain the same, that retrenchment technically there in the provisions, but practically not possible in India. And many of my colleagues later told me, colleagues who were, same level peers, that you made a big mistake talking to him in that language. And after lunch, the same top HR boss told me that instead of me, you will be making this presentation in Italy. And tonight I'll take you out for dinner for seeing your professional caliber, but also guts and courage in communication. Stating the right as the right. Perhaps when we look at some such perspective, and when I look at in Maruti, when I entered 2003, the first mandate was to convert this company from a public sector to a private sector entity. Very tough. Very easy to say these things in a conference or something. But to convert a company which was 21 years a public sector company into a private sector company is no joke. But it was possible because of Dr. Pritam Singh and MDI and kind of a collaborative shift for this transformation and leadership which was required in Maruti to remain competitive, involving all stakeholders. It took me 5-6 years to achieve that objective. But then the results were, I was pleasantly surprised in 2008 when they asked me to become the chief operating officer, leading HR, leading finance, leading IT, company secretary, legal. It was a first of its kind in Suzuki Japan head office to take this kind of a decision, giving this role to a HR leader. But I think to a great extent, one learning is that while we look at human resources, we should also attach management leadership part of this function. Being in HR, isolated identity means nothing to me. And I think unconsciously, that was the journey, that was the learning which I'm sharing with most of you. Many of you are very young. Look at merging human resource function with the management leadership perspective as we go along. And I technically retired in 2018 July, but I was asked to continue on the board, continue on the executive role till today, very hectic. And to my horror, to my surprise, they said you should be the CEO of the realty business of Maruti. I had no clue about reality, complexity, ambiguity. But I thought that, okay, let me have, Adil was saying that shape, beautiful. कि बाहर निकल के 2 कदम चल के तो देखते हैं. And rest is history that today we have been a great kind of success in Maruti with this new business arm. One perspective, very quickly, for a good leader to be successful, he should be a good human being, should be fair. But there is a big problem there. Being fair is not sufficient. By the rest of the 40,000 people in Maruti, inside and outside, you must also be seen fair. And therefore, you have to tread carefully as a role model. Huge learning from Japan, modesty, simplicity, walking the talk. That's the way perhaps you will be looking at this ethical perspective of leadership, this compassionate leadership perspective because of this COVID, what we saw recently, and then look at building this learning as you move in your career. Even today, as Dr. Rao said, I look at the first opportunity to learn something new every day from my colleagues in Japan, from my colleagues who are much junior to me in Maruti here, from the legendary status of Mr. Bhargav, maybe Mr. Ayukawa, always looking for that quick learning which can change my career a little bit, even at this age, at this level of. To a great extent, perhaps when I look at this session, which thanks to Ashish, what he has organized, I think a quick 10-minute experience sharing is motivation, is inspiration, is maybe showing you the way. And I personally wish that our HR professionals should grow more to the board roles maybe the CEO level positions in future. Potential is there. We have to really make it happen. So thank you very much for this opportunity. All of you who are attending today, I'm sure you will do well. When you will do well, you will decide to buy a car. At that point of time, remember buying only Maruti cars. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, sir. Inspiring journey, story, modesty, simplicity, walk the talk. Then talking about HR is not support function, and so many takeaway from your rich experience and the way you are managing Maruti beyond HR. Actually, I have seen admin, then procurement, finance, and not the finance, but many other support divisions. Thank you so much. All the delegates, please keep engaging our speaker. Okay, Dr. Sanjay Muttal, I'm taking liberty to postpone your session just for 10 minutes. I want to bring Mr. Srinivas. Mr. Srinivas, who was supposed to take first session, somehow he couldn't join on time. So sir, thanks for joining. Okay, here I'm taking a liberty to introduce you, Mr. Srinivas HN. He is advisor consultant from the trust. More than 45 years of experience. I can take his last two companies' name, and they are Taj and HP. Over to you, sir. Look forward to hear from you.
Thank you. Thank you, Ashish. Let me, I'm indeed delighted and honored to be a part of your, series. And thanks to have organized and invited me for this. Like you rightly said, out of this 42 years of my career, most of my service has been with the Tata Group. I spent 27 years with Taj Hotels and ended up as CHRO. I was the CHRO for over 7 years. And then I was a senior vice president, total quality management and customer experience and quality of operations with Taj Group. I did a 2-year stint with Tata Tea, a 1.5-year stint with Tata Sons as an advisor on a major skill development program that we launched and initiated, which is running very successfully, called the Tata Strive. The concept was to, over a period of 10 years, we should develop capacity in India to be able to skill 1 million youth every year. At the end of 10 years, we need to build that kind of skilling capacity in India. So that is the project which we launched in Tata Group, and I supported, and I was there while this whole concept was being conceived and implementation plan was being defined. I was involved in that, reporting to the chairman those days, and I had a committee of people, vice presidents from various Tata companies who were working with me, and that is up and running. And currently, I'm engaged in a major skill development initiative. It's a Prime Minister's program which has been, which is being supported by Tata Group. It's again a skill development institute, a national skill development institute for advanced manufacturing. I am currently busy building that institution. To recollect some of my memorable, anecdotes and stories of Tata Group, some of those incidents which are unforgettable and the stories that I've heard, 1 or 2 or 3 I would like to share with you, and then how it impacted me, what have been my learning experiences is what I'm going to share. The first and foremost is the founder of the Tata Group always looked at nation building as the central theme, and practicing values, human values, and building relationship with communities, key communities and societies in which he operated was central, was the most important objective, and the other financial and business objectives came secondary. I mean, that is how Tata Group was built at one time. I remember when Jamshedji Tata was going around in the interior forests of Bihar in 1895, identifying a location to build a steel plant, and he zeroed down to a place which was closer to some coal mines that were set up by British Raj companies, which is today called Jamshedpur. And the first set of consultants he brought from England, from London, those days, I think nobody would be able to guess it. It is not any structural engineers, construction engineers. It was not metallurgists and steel experts and technical people. There were 2 Fabian sociologists, Dr. Sidney and Beatrice Webb. they were invited, they were very famous. This Fabian sociological movement in UK was catching a lot of attention and visibility. And so he invited them to come to India. When he was traveling in the regions where he wanted to set up the steel mill, he noticed tribal settlements all around in the forests, in the deep forests of Bihar. And he said, I want you to conduct a social audit to identify and recommend to me how I can hire the youth, boys and girls from these tribal settlements, bring them to a skilled school and train them to become employees of Tata Steel. That was the first set of consultants who were brought from London. In other words, the first thought in his mind was, how will I build relationship with the local region, local community, local society? That is step one. And as he was traveling around and he had to get some trained people, those days trained people, I'm talking about 130, 140 years ago, they were not available in good numbers in India. And those people had to come from outside of India. It worried him and he said, I have to start a science and technology institute in India. He went from one princely state royal family to another princely state royal family in the entire northern belt. And all of them laughed at him. They said, India is a colonized country and you're talking about setting up a science research technology institute. These are all high sounding words. But these pariah children who are in a colonized country, who are virtually kind of slaves, what will they do? Who will learn science? Who will learn technology? Are you dreaming? What are you doing? I don't think we have time for you. And it was kind of ticked off by many of these families. And he meets one person in Kolkata in his sojourn, in his tour. And that gentleman tells him it's a very noble thought. You have a very deep commitment he seemed to be having. Why don't you go to these locations? And he guides him. And that's how he lands up in Mysore, Bangalore and Mysore. He goes to the Maharaja of Mysore. Maharaja of Mysore appreciates this. And he says it's a very, very progressive thought. The north side of Bangalore is all my land. And as much as you want, I don't even want to ask you how much you want. As much as you want, you go and fence it, and that will be your land. And that is how the legend goes that he had only that much money to fence 300 acres, and he fenced it, and he set up an institution called the Indian Institute of Science. And the rest of it, you know how big it has grown and how famous and how reputed it has become today. So they always looked at building bridges to society and contributing something to nation building. Even the current project on which I'm working is all about that. So that became a part of the DNA. Now coming to Taj Hotels, where I worked for the longest tenure, we realized that the kind of recruitment we were doing, releasing advertisements in newspapers and interviewing them and selecting them and all that was not giving us the kind of results that we are expecting in terms of customer excellence and also service quality. And so when I was debating with my team of bright youngsters, overall those days MBAs from either XLRI, TIS, SIMs, they pointed out that there is something wrong basically in the way we are recruiting people. And that is when we launched our rural recruitment program, where we would go to interior parts of towns of India and recruit bright youngsters, boys and girls, bring them to a skill school in a city like Bombay, Delhi, Bangalore, and put them through systematic training for 6 months. And the kind of commitment, the kind of enthusiasm, the kind of passion that you see in them to serve customers was outstanding. We would hire them for values when they go to those interior schools. We check with the headmaster, the principal, to recommend some boys and girls whom according to them, are rooted in these human values, ethics and discipline and good conduct and behavior. And those recommendations, we would hire those youngsters and bring them to a city and train them. And that is how we could build a world-class work culture, service culture in Taj Hotels. So much so, any survey that was carried out in 2009, 2010, 2011, 12, both domestic and international, would put Taj as the best employer and the employee survey scores, that is employee satisfaction and loyalty survey scores, engagement scores for any company in India, Taj used to virtually sit on top of the heap as the best company. And we got 4 years consecutively the Gallup Great Workplace Award, Hewitt and Yon Hewitt Great Workplace Award, great workplaces to work, which there is an organization in Bombay, even that award. Virtually most of these assessment, our companies emerged as among the top, either number 1 or number 2. This culture was possible because of the relationship focus that we emphasized. We built relationship with society, we built relationship with schools and colleges, we built relationship with the institutions of excellence, and we would hire students, whether it's a catering college or an MBA institute or there is a school from where we hire for lower positions. We hire them for their ethics, for values, for good conduct, for the discipline, and train them in skills to meet international standards. So this was a lesson, this was a learning for us. And I end by saying that, see, there is always a foul cry that India has no talent, and there is a war for talent, and talent is flying away from India, and these kind of seminars and conferences I've attended. So, but I always have taken a view, India has enormous talent, it is raw talent, and I'm always reminded of what Dr. Abdul Kalam said when he said, India of my dreams, 2020, which he wrote about 20 years before that. And he said, the superpower, the future superpower India, economic superpower India is emerging, not in cities as you may be seeing. And people question him, how do you say India will be an economic superpower? He always said, yes, it is going to be an economic superpower. What you are seeing in cities is not what is happening in India. The superpower India is emerging in interior parts of India, in villages, in towns, from the homes of the poor, from the homes of the underprivileged, from the homes of barbers, farmers, and fishermen. It's a momentum. It's gaining, it's gathering speed, it's gathering strength. And these are the boys and girls who are going to build a brave new India. And this is the motto. We should build relationship with these kind of talents, nurture them, own them, train them, and they will give you world-class results.
Yeah.
It's seen in the kind of work we did at the Taj. So with this, I'll conclude this as one experience I could share for the limitation time. I can't say anything more. Thank you very much. I'm delighted to see a lot of good friends who are sitting there. Many of them I know, some of them I don't know, but I've heard about them. Thank you for this opportunity.
Thank you, Mr. Srinivasan ji, and sharing wonderful journey of Taj and Taj's stand for values, no doubt, culture, values, and all. Please be there, delegate. Please engage our speaker through chat box. So from here, I go to none other than Dr. Sanjay Muttal, and Dr. Sanjay Muttal come with a very rich experience of more than 32. Okay, I can take the last 3 companies' name. That is RPG, Hinduja, Piramal, and Dr. Sanjay Muttal is the CEO of Contemporary Business Solution Business Management Consultancy. Over to you, Doctor.
Thank you, Ashish. At the outset, a big thank you to you for including me with the legends, because I don't qualify to be one. But so good to see all the friends here, and great learning platform, as it were, this morning has been. So I want to kind of go a little away from work and look at life and relate to where I came from and what life taught me. So I came from very humble beginnings. I grew up in a small village near Nagpur, where in 1963, the first electricity bulb came. Before that, there were lanterns. Even for studying at the night, we had to use lanterns. Went to a primary school, which used to be school during the day, and after the evening, it used to be where the cattle would be herded and stored. From there, when I came to Nagpur was kind of overwhelming me. It was like a mega city for me. Post journey brought me to Mumbai, joined JBIMS, and That I thought was the mistake that I did. Because when I joined large institutions like that, I always found myself to be sitting in one corner because I used to be overwhelmed by the quality of communication the people had, the English language they could speak, the contemporariness in the topics that they would discuss, and I would be really distant somewhere away from these heroes from the classroom. I then decided that having reached Mumbai, I must make something of my life and must stand and be acknowledged in the front seat of any audience. So be at it as it may be, very basic thing like in Mumbai, who those people who grew would know, there used to be a public speaking academy called as Nazareth Academy, very famous those days. I joined that, I topped that academy and made public speaking as one of my virtues, as it were. Why I'm saying this is that timidness that I had to be given away by a single-mindedness of purpose as to I want to shun that away and be there in the front row. As my career began, and people on the forum would relate, all of us, or most of us, began our career those days in 80s in industrial relations. And therefore unions, and in some of us faced very, very aggressive unions like Dr. Datta Samant, so on and so forth, really tuned me into what we call as human relations. I quickly realized that my real flow of thoughts, my real flow of life's journey, I think lies with being with people. Having born and brought up in small village, relating to people came very easy to me. And then relating to union leaders and the workers on the shop floor became part of my family. Most of the time in my early career, I would always spend on the shop floor because I think learning from shop floor is what makes you a sound HR professional or maybe a people champion. Because most of those hush-hush learnings, chats or chai on the shop floor were the issues that would ultimately be discussed at the apex levels with the management. And that gave me huge insight into people engagement skills and people relation skill. And I realized that at the base of anything that you do, however professional you are, however unprofessional you are, however educated you are, however uneducated you are, there are basic human values that one needs to harness in any part of your life, be it work life or be it personal life. And I think I very quickly realized that if I practice humanness in my own personal life, then it was automatically spilling over to my work life and was in a manner, sorry to use commercial word, giving me dividends in terms of developing good relationships. And I think that is my North Star in life. Relationships that I developed over the period of time have stayed with me. I have had moments of truth, 100, thousands, 2000s. When an alcoholic employee in my first job, whom I took to Alcoholic Anonymous those days, and when his wife comes to me when I was leaving saying that, I can never forget you, you changed my destiny of my life. My husband now gives me entire salary at home. To a family, when I left my Dubai job, we had a colleague, and I'm digressing from this, but it is closer to my heart, so I must share this here, whom we lost working. I mean, we were chatting with each other. He got a heart attack in front of my eyes, young guy, 40, manager in one of our travel business, rushed him to hospital and they said, you declared him dead. I spoke to the chairman of that company that time. I was the HR leader in that company. And he said, what should we do for this family? Because his wife was working in Indian school in Dubai. So I told him, Rakesh was his name, Rakesh Sahai. Till Anita is here, or till Rakesh reaches 60 years, next 20 years, let us keep paying them the salary that he was entitled to. This was circa 1997. And he agreed. The family thought I was responsible for that because I might have just said, but chairman agreed. The day I left, and a lot of people came to see me at airport in Dubai, over 200 of them. There was a small little girl of Rakesh. She came and just hugged me and said that, uncle, you are going. Who will take care of us? I think that touched me so much that there's so much profoundness in the human capital that somehow the structured mind that when we go to business schools just get focused on one aspect of life, which is work life. And then I realized there is much more to life than work. In fact, work is one part of life. And I kept that motto in my life. And therefore, I'm extremely delighted to say, and some of you keep telling me this, as to why you have so many friends. How do you know everyone? You take a name and you know that person. Because I have connected with them, I have related with them, I have had drink with them, I have had dinners with them, I have had chats with them, I have had engagement in terms of speaking, in terms of talking, whatever you do. I think if we look at life in its fullness and glory, it offers you multiple avenues of contributing to humanity. And I'm not taking a posture or a position of being a great daddy. No, in small little way. If you can do and add value to somebody else than your family members, I think we have served our purpose of coming on this planet and doing something which was more than what was expected of you. Because your own family, even the animals, they fend them. But we, when we are born as human, if we can do that, if you can relate to people, if you can walk with them, if you're very, very strong union leader on the day you leave the organization, and there is used to be, shouting at the gate that time for demands, says that as a respect because Sanjay is leaving today, we will not shout today on the gate. I think these are my moments of truth. I don't have bigger moments of truth. I have not been felicitated by President of India or Prime Minister of India, but these are the people who gave me memories. And I live with memories because in my case, my heart rules more than my brain. And therefore my relationship quotient in life has been fabulous. I think God has blessed me with good friends and good guides, good mentors, and some of them are here. So if you can, if you can relate to people, cry with them when they're crying, smile with them when they're smiling, you are more than HR leader. You're more than, you can be a good human being. I think if you keep humanity as your baseline and operate in life, success is bound to follow you. It may not be commercial success because the way you define your success, but success is bound to follow you because at any level, any place that you work in organizations, in personal life, or in your community is about people. It's nothing but people, and people are a bunch of emotions. If we are not able to harness those emotions, well, we fail as leader. If you are able to harness those emotions well, then we succeed. And then we are able to make an impact, whether it's organization, whether it is community, whether it is your class, whatever you do. And I think that has really been my mantra of life. I have really enjoyed, I continue to enjoy my friendship with tons of people. My Facebook account is more than 15,000 people. My LinkedIn is more than 10,000 people. Numbers are not, I'm not wanting to throw here. What I'm saying is that I have really been fortunate enough to have fantastic relationship with people, and that I nurture as my treasure. I may not have a great bank balance, but I have a huge friendship balance from all the friends that are here, and therefore make compassion, empathy as your way of life. Practice abundance mindset, because then everything goes away. The scarcity falls away. Although people like us, and I'm sure DK, Saklen, etc., will bear me out, that when we started our lives, all of us were kind of grew with scarcity as mindset. Even if my father was well-to-do, we had to stand for a queue in ration to get 500 grams of sugar per card member on that ration card. You had to still stand for a kerosene queue. Even if you got cooking gas cylinder, you know, it took 7 days once you ordered. So what did it make to you? It made you scarcity as your driver when you went to work. And many of us, by our upbringing, practice scarcity as our management style at work. And therefore, good old days, if you recollect, people used to say, oh no, wow, this boss is very strong. You know, there's an island around him. He is, yeah, you have to be his yes man, etc., etc. That happened purely because we had scarcity as a mindset. But if you practice abundance as your mindset, then work flows. Then, you know, relationship flows. Then everything in life just trickles down. And the whole life becomes voyage of excellence. And I think that's what I practiced in life. That's given me dividends. And I urge everyone that if you keep humanness and humanity as your North Star, everything else flows. Success, material, social, cultural, whatever you say, will always flow. And last but not the least, which I always practice, that keep your intentions about anything that you do well-minded. If your intentioners are honorable, as they say, forces of nature connive to make it happen. It happened in my case, and I'm sure it can happen in any human being's case. Thank you, Ashish, once again for having me here. Extremely delighted to have given me this 10 minutes. Thank you, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Muttal. Such an emotional journey you did share. Humanness, I can pick up the word, yeah, and the positivity, and keep trying and learning and all. Okay, and then so from here I go to none other than Mr. Raju Badoriya. Okay, let me read his the way I'm reading the profile. So he is the founder and managing director of Equivalent, sir, if I'm pronouncing properly, consultancy, more than 30 to 33 years of experience. The last 3 company I can pick up: Jindal Steel, Reliance, Anil Ambani Group, which is an NTPC. Over to you, Mr. Rajiv. Thank you for
Thank you, Ashish, and I think it's really my pleasure to be here. And I think the very presence of, in fact, and what Sanjay was talking about has changed the dimension of what I was about to talk. And I suddenly realized that the care, concern, compassion for being human has to be on a priority. Now, I'll just try to translate this through 4 major parables of Vedanta. And while talking about it, what we have to communicate and convey is the fact that the basic humanness, that human being, that importance is very, very relevant today. And from what Sanjay narrated, that, you know, it touches the kind of, you know, that chord in us all, that, you know, to be a perfect human being is not within anybody's or everybody's, you know, capacity to do. But we as humans are themselves quite perfect. You know, being human being is perfect enough. So the point is that let's try to understand this, in fact, and through 4 or 5 parables from Vedanta. See, what is the need of the hour today is that, you know, we are dealing with a lot of technological disruptions. We are dealing with what is called market turbulence, and we are lost in this. The pandemic occurred, in fact, and suddenly, as Dr. Rao was telling, that, you know, the need for survival. And when even Mr. Siddiqui was talking about that whole need for self-identification. And Adil, you spoke about creating that spark. Sagarika talked about humility. And Jerry, you talked about, DK, you talked about audacity. And of course, despite the fact that, you know, Sanjay was so, and Srinivasan talked about the fact that you can think well ahead of your times, that you could talk about science in a time when India itself was subjugated to kind of, you know, a situation where things were not within our control. The point is that how do we get back this humanity or humanness from out of that, that industrial relations mindset or industrial, revolutions mindset of human beings being a cog in the wheel, this standardization, assembly line operations. It took away the dignity and the autonomy of humanity and human beings. It made them perform at best, movements of limbs which were unskillful. That unskillful movement of limbs is what we were reduced to. So now let's get back to this whole idea how we should transform. And I think that's the idea that, you generate in yourself that stealth, you generate that capacity to transform this whole attitude that we have been actually conditioned to live with as limited beings. So let me start with the first parable. In fact, there are 5 of them. One begins with Mullah Nasiruddin. Of course, this is not a Vedantic parable, but it actually sums up a lot of sum and substance. So why do we miss the important points in life, in fact, and we get lost? What happened? Mullah Nasiruddin was a trader, and he was trying to he was always transporting his goods loaded on a donkey, and hordes of donkeys he would carry, and a lot of load, in fact, and he would go and kind of, sell things in different countries. Now, the guards at the gates of all these countries, they knew that he was kind of, doing something hanky-panky. He was smuggling something into their countries. But his record was absolutely impeccable, and there was nothing that they could ever find. And it continued for years. Suddenly, when Mullah Nasiruddin had started, getting old, and this person who had retired from the services, in fact, he says, Mullaji, now tell me exactly what was it? Because I was all my life concerned that, you were doing something wrong, but I could never make out what this wrong was. So he smiled and said, of course, I was smuggling. And what I was smuggling was, but do you want to know it really? He said, of course, yes, I was the head security guard, and I was so proud of my kind of, career. And I was so proud about the fact that I was always able to do things right and catch the wrongs. He said, but you could never catch me, because what I was smuggling were the donkeys on which the load was being carried. So we just missed the buses. In fact, things happening right under our nose. We understand that we are so competent within. Being human itself is so beautiful, but we lose out in this outer glitter. In fact, the very importance of being human. And again, that industrial relations and industrial revolutions mindset refers to 18th, 19th, 20th century. That is one point, in fact. The other is from 4 Vedantic parables. One is that of the donkey parable. Now, the washerman would take his donkey, in fact, and he would load it with clothes and all, and he would tie him around a tree, trunk of the tree, and spend his day washing clothes, and returning, he would untie the rope, in fact, and carry the donkey back with the load. Now, one of the days he forgot the rope. So when he went there, he found that, oh my God, that was, as far as the washerman was concerned, the donkey was his SUV. Now, he could not kind of, resist the temptation that, of course, he's going to lose it if he leaves the donkey untied. So he says, but what to do? I don't have the rope. So there was a person standing next door, and he says that, what you do is that just come with me, I'll show you. He says, what to do? He says, just pretend as if you are tying the rope around the trunk of the tree and just see what happens. He says, okay, I'll do it if you're saying, but he wasn't too confident and sure of himself. So he did it. And to his surprise, the donkey stayed stable, and he went away, and he still was there, and the whole day he was there. Coming back in the evening, when he saw, he says, now come on, time to come back. So he just patted the donkey and said, buddy, come back. And the buddy would not move. He says, what happened? My God, this is a problem. So he again talked to the same person. What's happened? He says, okay, you tied it in the morning. Now just try to untie it. Pretend as if you're untying it. And hitherto, the moment it happened, the donkey, in fact, freed himself, and he started walking back. That's what happens in this whole, contradictory, in fact, implications and contradictory influences that we are facing every day in this glitter, again, of industrialization and the so-called, glamour around all of us. That, yes, we forget that we are not free, identically wise, because we are born free, we have a willpower, we have a matter of choice, but we refuse to do that because we think we are under a limitation. It could be a job, it could be like what Sanjay says that, he may not have a big bank balance. The point is that money doesn't limit you. Your potential is not limited by man, and therefore this untying and tying is important, because we have to just do away with this tying. We are never tied, we were always free. We have to apply ourselves and assert our freedom as Siddiqui said, you must state the right things. That is one thing. Point number 2, these 2 parables. The third parable is even more interesting. It is all about Princess of Kashi. Ashish, don't bother. I'll finish it within exactly 9.5 minutes. So don't bother. So Princess of Kashi was there. This old times. In fact, there was a big celebration. And somebody there was a dress rehearsal going on. And suddenly, the main actor who was to play that role of Princess of Kashi, that small girl, she was not available. So this queen, in fact, said that, okay, my son is there. He's their 5-year-old son. In fact, he can play that role of the girl. And he can be dressed up as Princess of Kashi. He played the role, looking beautiful. So she says that, of course, those days there couldn't have been a photograph. He's asked the state painter that you paint this painting. In fact, I want to keep this memory alive. But as it happens, these portraits that was made of the Princess of Kashi were lost in the background. Till the time this child grew up to be 21-year-old prince. And he was reminded, in fact, of the fact that, of course, now that there was pressure on him that, you take up the reins and you get married and all. So he was quite concerned whom to marry and all. Suddenly he came across this portrait. And he fell in love with this girl. She said, okay, she must be my age. I think I'm not 21. And if it's 5 years, and the date was written there. So he says, okay, I'll marry this girl. And he came back home and he was very upset. He told everybody, I want to marry this Princess of Kashi. He said, very nice. Who's she? And then it occurred to the minister that, oh, he's referring to this girl. And then he said, please, we need to talk, sit down. And then the prince was asked that, okay, what's happened? He says, this is the girl. It's you who is this girl. It's not anybody else. So again, the realization that it's you as an individual who's the most important person. And we forget that the kingdom of God, as they say, in fact, its whole powerful potential lies within you. The Princess of Kashi is nobody but you. And he felt very happy. Oh, it's me. So he felt very concerned about his marriage himself. That was all over. He became happy again. And he kind of, said that, okay, now I'll be just, doing away with this need to get married to this Princess of Kashi. I can get married to anybody whom I fall in love with. So again, he realized that, yes, this whole, of course, it is in Vedantic context that, this whole Atman and Brahman lies within you. But you are the Princess of Kashi. You are the person full of potential. That's again, realization of the potential that humans have. Being human itself is good enough. People talk of great human beings, but no, being human itself is great enough. That realization. And then the other one is, the last parable is, of course, not the last bit, of course, the second last bit one, is that of the 10th man parable. There are 10 people who cross the river. On the other end, in fact, they realized that suddenly, I think they could count only 9. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Everybody missed out himself. So they were quite worried. They started crying, oh, the 10th man is drowned. But then there was a wise man coming by, in fact, and he said that, no, you guys are there. 10th man is there. Don't bother. Where the 10th man is there. So he said, count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And then he caught hold of his hand and said, thou art the 10th. Then again, he realized that, okay, my God, we just see things outside as objects because we are used to, conditioned to see things outside as objects, and we rarely introspect within ourselves. We are exploring the far end of the cosmos, but we remain absolutely unattached, detached, so detached to this body that we don't see it within. What is this power within? That is important. And that is something that we have to realize. So this parable tells us this, that, there's a great power potential. It's within you. Don't just look for happiness. Don't look for dignity. Don't look for, bliss outside yourself. It's there within yourself. If you realize yourself as a human being, as Sanjay put it so beautifully, that, what is the kind of contentment and what's the kind of level of awareness that you can raise yourself up to understand that potential. The last parable is of lion and a sheep. There was a lioness, in fact, and she was pregnant and she delivered a cub and she died. The sheep, in fact, there was a herd of sheep whom, in fact, she was attacking. The head of the sheep, in fact, she came forward and brought this child up, in fact, as her own son or daughter, in fact, and this child grew up to be very smart tiger. He was big tiger, in fact, but he would bleat. He would not roar. He lost his capacity because he started eating grass and things like that. One fine day, the big lion came and he saw he was out to hunt the sheep, but then he saw that amongst these sheep is this herd of sheep. In fact, there is this lion. He said, caught hold of him. He says, son, what are you doing here? He says, well, I'm not. He was trying to run away from me. He says, hold on. He just quietly brought him to a pond. saw his own reflection. He said, see, this is you. You look like me and you can roar. I can't roar like you. So just try, and he roared like a lion. Again, we realized that, human potential in this quagmire of industrialization is actually nipped in the very bud. And we are from very beginning conditioned to think that we are small, we are limited, we can't do greatness, and we succumb to pressures when pandemics like coronavirus comes. The theory behind that, what actually struck me when Sanjay was speaking, is that these parables tell us a tale, that we are unaware about what it is happening around us. We are absolutely blinded to things that are happening right under our nose. We don't observe the changing patterns of behavior. It's everyone's opportunity to know within yourself and realize that potential yourself, understand that you are strong. You're not the meek and submissive one that you've been reduced to. Realize that potential, only then you can grow as human beings. So I would say that, these parables taught me a lot of lesson. How do you get back that dignity and autonomy that was lost in industrial age is the question today with all of us. As HR or non-HR, as industry, as society, we got to realize that bring back the human that was lost in the quagmire of industry. This is the power of.
We lost you, Rajiv ji. Is anybody able to hear Rajiv ji? No. The screen is frozen, right? Yeah.
His power is gone, looks like.
Yeah.
Please get in touch with him.
Yeah. Okay. So from here, let's wait for 5 seconds. Okay. So from here, I go to the next speaker. Yes, last two session, only last two session, that will be Mr. Rajiv, and the second last, and then Mr. Nadeem. Thank you once again, everybody. All the delegates keep engaging our speaker. And from here, I go to Mr. Sharad Gangal, and let me read his profile. So he is freelancer independent consultant in January 2021. He was with Thermex as a former EVP People Process and member of Executive Council, Thermex, and last two companies before Thermex, HDFC and Cadbury. So looking forward to hear from Mr. Sharad.
Yes, thank you, Ashish, and I love the format, and even at this point of time in the career, it gives us a fantastic opportunity to learn so many things. What I'm going to speak through is, what one has learned across working in different organizations, and also it's a great opportunity to express our gratitude towards some of the people with whom you worked, and I think being humane has been the central theme, and I won't, at the cost of repetition, I'm making it mention only once, and that's there. The one thing which comes to my mind, and which is about as to what we need to, what one has learned as an HR professional, is being authentic. Whatever you do, if you are seen as authentic, if you are perceived as authentic, you are really authentic, and your personal integrity is unquestionable, I think the most difficult times you sail through with glory, bringing glory to the organization. Forget yourself, but bringing glory to the organization. Having done this prelude, you mentioned last three companies, but I started my career with Asian Paints. Yeah, and every company teaches you something. At 2 innings with Asian Paints. Great innings, one while I was undergrad, and then when I did my post-graduation, I had the opportunity to go back and work with them in HR. I started my career in materials function, then went for higher education in HR because, here is an opportunity for me to play to express my tributes to Mr. Vivek Patwardhan, who identified me, and he said, Sharad, you're made for HR. And that's how I moved into HR. One of the things that Asian Paints teaches you, apart from a great organization from a people point of view, it teaches you how you have to be on top of business, economics of business. You can't be efficient unless you know the nitty-gritties of what the business. And I got a great opportunity there. To my surprise, you get selected as executive trainee, as it was called that time, not management trainee. And at the end of the meeting, you're told, look, you're qualified in HR, we'll give you the job, but what gets to be done from you is what we decide. And that was a surprise to me. So they said, you will do the factory HR thing, that's separate. But you'll also look after central excise, which is GST today. You'll also look after factory accounts and you'll look after logistics. Yeah. Being a technologically advanced factory, small factory, you can manage that. And I was scared. So they said, what scares you? So I said, the kind of risk. They said, we are taking a greater risk than you. And then that was embedded in my mind that even in your personal life, you have to take risks. And industrial relations was provided in those times. Industrial relations was at the fore, as Sanjay said, you need to do some things which are different. So Asian Paints taught me business. Then I moved to a German pharma company called Boehringer Mannheim. And today it's no more. Today it's a part of Roche globally, the Swiss company. And the MD was German. His name was Bauder. And what democratized workplace is, I learned in that company. I'm talking of 1990, when democratized workplace was still not a word. It's in fashion of late. But real democratization of workplace, I learned it there. And that is how I'm going to weave my story in 10 minutes in terms of what I learned. Actually, we gave financial powers to workers. That means what changes you want to make on the shop floor on the 5 manufacturing best model of manufacturing, that is quality, cost, delivery, people, and safety. You decide, and a limited budget was given. And it was a fantastic, at that time I worked with Dr. E. Ramaswamy, those of you who know him. He's a great thinker in labor relations and labor economics who taught labor at the Institute of Social Sciences at The Hague, and he used to come to India during winter seasons there, and I worked with him. So I understood what it means giving power to people. And we all talk of power to managers, but giving power to workers, what it meant, I learned it there. Great innings, did lot of things, learned lot of things, and then I moved to this great company called Cadbury, where I stayed for 11 years. Worked with great people like G. Sridhar, Radhakrishnan Menon, who are my immediate bosses in HR. This company taught me as to, among other things, how you can be aggressive at the marketplace, but still you can be so nice, so soft, and so humane while you're inside. How do you retain the best talent? How this company, this FMCG, was able to retain a 69% market share. And I'm talking when I left that company in 2006, 2007. Till that time, it requires tremendous amount of, harnessing people power and people, the talent which is inside. And this is what that company did. The other thing that I learned in this company, worked with Mr. Bharat Puri, and Cadbury went through those most difficult times of infestation of chocolates. And suddenly you're lonely. And how leadership behaves in adverse times, and how you can be as cool as an ice at the same time at the back end, you are working hyper to see that things are brought to normal. And HR was given a lot of importance at that time during that phase in terms of communication inside and outside, and I had the fortune to lead it. Great learnings from there. Then I moved to HDFC Life Insurance. HDFC Life Insurance, one of the things which you work in a financial services company, what immediately comes to your mind is about being on top constantly, being on top, being the top two. And here I had the fortune to work with Mr. Deepak Satwadekar, who incidentally is now the chairman of Asian Paints. He was the managing director, managing director of HDFC Life Insurance. I learned from him. He told me, Sharad, while business will come, business will go. Life insurance is about trust. And the moment we are able to have the trust of people, we will be successful. And at that time, HDFC Life was not in top 2, top 3. But he said, it's a game of long haul. It's a game of long haul. Let's wait for our turn. Let's play the game which we are meant to. Let our customers understand that we are a great trustworthy company. We will be in the reckoning. And today, you know where HDFC Life Insurance is. And therefore, this entire thing, what one takes as a reverse osmosis, according to me, is exceedingly important when one works in the organization. And having gone from a FMCG complexity to a scale game of HDFC Life. I moved to Thermax. Those three and a half years were the only which I worked in services. Otherwise, I always worked in manufacturing. And then I came to Thermax. What a lovely company. What a lovely company. You know, that company which really gives you that opportunity to develop and experiment with talent. Every industry has its own nuances. And engineering industry, capital goods, you are severely constrained by economic cycles. You are severely constrained by the margins that you have. In those constraints, with those constraints, how do you keep talent? How do you, despite being a mid-sized 7,000, 8,000 crore company, how you can create an identity for yourself? And I believe that every organization has its own DNA. As much as a human being, every organization has its own DNA. And with that DNA, how we are able to create talent and give to the industry talent of future. How do you have internal processes? Those are so robust, and you have the privilege of carrying it on your shoulder because you are the HR head. And how do you give to the industry some of the best people? Mr. Unnikrishnan, with whom I worked extensively as managing director. Anuaga, I have not seen anybody as evolved a person as Anuaga. And some of the things that I learned here in terms of challenging the status quo, and you're allowed to experiment. And that's my great learning. When industrial relations became difficult in a company, even like Thermax, I requested Unni Krishnan, my managing director, Unni, let us go to the gate and address all the workmen. And that was a great lesson that I'd learned early in my life in industrial relations, saying that workers are your constituency, union committee members are not. And when union committee was becoming intransigent, me and Unni Krishnan, hats off to that managing director. He said, let's go to the gate and talk to the people as to what we can do for them and what we cannot. And we did that. It's a story which is published in the book HR Here and Now, written by Ganesh Chella, D. Harish, and Vijay Rao. We addressed workmen without union leaders and told them, look, this is what it is. We respect the union, but we are in such a position. We are in engineering industry. We are on an economic down cycle. Please accept what we are giving. And workers raise their hands. The idea is not to belittle the union, but somewhere as HR, as some speaker earlier said, you should speak the truth. You should not be trying to pussyfoot and take honesty for granted. I think some of the things that I learned here, some of the things that I practiced here, the last is, Thermax gives you a lot of, freedom to experiment. Everybody talks of diversity. Yes, diversity must be there. It's nice to speak. And when you have Chairman Meher Kadamji, chairperson of the company, it can't be more compelling than diversity. But, we speak of glass ceiling. And we decided here that we will experiment with diversity on the shop floor. And mind you, Thermax is a heavy fabrication company. I'm talking of shop floor. And I said, welders are a short talent. Welders are in short supply. A good welder can earn nothing less than 60,000 rupees per month. Take my word. Yeah. And there's a short supply. I said to the company, we went from HR and we said, why don't we try with girls? And we said, at the bottom of the pyramid, let's try diversity. We tried that. Happy to tell you, girls from very, very humble, economically disadvantaged part of the society, we could train them on welding. We gave them jobs on the shop floor, and today they are working so well. So one got an opportunity to experiment with something which was not tried in talent. At the same time, you could give back to the society. And I'll give you only one anecdotal example because I know I'm running out of time. One anecdotal example. There was a particular girl. She came from a tribal family. She said, we are 7 siblings. 7 siblings. My parents were tribals. She said, Thermax is my home. You taught me welding. You made me employable. And when one hangs boot, I think this, according to me, is far more important than winning any awards. At the end of it, I mentioned that, I want to pay tributes to some of the great people I work with. I talked about Vivek Patpadan, I talked about Bharat Puri, Deepak Satwadekar, who told me insurance is about trust, insurance is not about premium, the other things will come. Sridhar, a great HR mentor, who is the CEO of Adrenaline. Radhakrishnan Menon, who was again, after Sridhar moved to UK in Cadbury, he came in. Anuaga and Unnikrishnan. I take this opportunity and learn from these great companies, Asian Paints, Boehringer, Cadbury, HDFC Life, and Thermax. I learned from these people, and whatever I am, I paid back to them, that they are the ones who made me. In this limited time, I wanted to share my experience from authenticity to trust, and from understanding business to experimenting new things and challenging status quo. Thank you. It's exactly 10 minutes.
Thank you, Sharadji, for a wonderful story of Thermax and a lot of inspiring thought. Thank you for being here. Yes, so we are on not on time, but we are behind 30-minute schedule. But yes, a lot of things coming. So great knowledge sharing from each one of you. And here I go to the last speaker, Mr. Nadeem Kazim, joining all the way from Kolkata. Welcome, sir. And he's Chief Executive Officer, Spice HR Works. More than 34 years of our experience. I will pick up last 3 companies, Tractor India, Exide, and Tata Steel. Over to you, Nadeem ji. Looking forward to hear.
Thank you, Ashish, and thanks for giving this opportunity to share my experience. Pretty happy to share this screen with real HR legend on the screen. And something which Sanjay Muthal spoke about, I want to start from there. I am living a new life. I was almost dead in COVID 6 months back. I think Sanjay was one guy who was in touch with my son on an everyday basis. And there's no words whereby I can really thank him. Siddiqui Saab spoke to me after he knew it. And there's one lady on the line as the audience, Madhumita, HR person from one of the hospitals. They were lifeline. So actually you have to be a good human being. And I think in times of stress, nothing can buy you more than that. No money, no power, no stress. So I thought I would start from here. Now, I would like to share some stories. I think that's the best way to impart knowledge. And I will limit myself with 10 minutes. I think I'm standing before lunch and my talk. So I will be rather brief on this. Something which we very passionately talk about, we are HR professionals. I think time has come when we need to know when to stop saying that we are HR professionals. Because if we take it too long in our journey of career, companies start seeing you only as an HR professional and you don't go to the board and you don't get business, or something which Siddiqui Sir was mentioning. So I think it is important to drive HR as a professional up to a point, and I think then build that business capability which you have in him, so that you are seen more as a business leader, and bring the HR conveyor which helps the organization grow the top line and the bottom line and add value to the organization. I think it is important to understand that piece very correctly. And I'll just give you a couple of examples from there. So when I moved to Exide Industries as an EVP, and I was the only guy in the history of Exide which went to the board of directors of the company. And I also handled business of 2,000 crores, right from the 2 CEOs reporting with all function. It didn't just happen because management wanted to give that role, but something which I want to tell to the participant, because I see 182 people are listening here, is that when you go to a senior level, you don't talk about HR. You talk about business. You talk about why the customer is pulling out their purse and paying premium to you. You need to understand why the competition is doing better than you, and what is that learning which you can bring back quickly into the organization and plug that gap. So I think it is understanding the market, it is understanding the technology, it is understanding how you can create difference in the organization, and for that actually dirty your hand in the field. I used to spend about 10 days in the market to understand as to why the people are buying our product and what are the issues there. So when I was sitting in the boardroom or into the executive council meeting, I was able to contribute much more than the marketing manager or the line manager. So I think this value chain drive is something which we all need to do. And I think this is one point I wanted to make in this discussion. Second point is, again, emanating from what Sanjay talked about emotions. There's a quick story I want to say because there are 2 experiences I want to relate from there. So it's a story, don't take it to your heart. It's a story on a lighter mode. So when India was being constructed, I think the God came with a jar of capabilities. So he came with a jar of beauty to start with. And he started pouring that jar of beauty from Jammu and Kashmir. And by the time it trickled down to Maharashtra, the drops started dropping less. And by the time it came to Kerala, it was absolutely, dried up. People from Kerala said, oh God, you have given beauty to the top people. What about us? God said, don't worry, I have a jar for you. So he picked up another jar of intelligence. and he started pouring from Kerala. And by the time it came to Delhi, it was trickling, and by the time it went to Jammu, it actually stopped. Right. People from Gujarat, they said, God, you have given intelligence, you have given beauty. What about us? God said, don't worry, I have a jar for you also. So God picked up a jar of business acumen, and he started pouring from Gujarat. By the time it came to Uttar Pradesh, it started trickling. By the time it came to Bihar, it started drying up. By the time it came to Calcutta, where I am speaking from, it was just not their business acumen. People from Bengal and Calcutta said from Eastern India, yeah, you have given business acumen, you have given beauty, you have given intelligence. What about people from Eastern India? We don't have got anything. God said, don't worry, I have something for you. So God picked up another jar. That jar was of emotion. And he started pouring that jar of emotion from Eastern India and went, by the time it reached Gujarat, actually it was drop, 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 it was dried up. Why I'm trying to say this story is, people from different part of the country react very differently. Don't take this story in sacrosanct, but the point I'm trying to drive home is that from a HR perspective or from a people perspective, we need to understand what is going to work in a one situation and what is not going to work into the other situation. So looking at this emotion theory, since I've talked about emotion and something Sanjay talked about, when I joined this company, Excite, as executive vice president, I think for the first time I went to one of the plants in Shamnagar, which is the oldest plant. And Aquil Busrai always relate to Shamnagar plant. So that was a day when the negotiation has almost happened with the union, and it was final clinching which was supposed to happen. So I was meeting the union in my first meeting, and the union leader was there. And I said, yes, you all have done a good job, but if you can finish it today, nothing like it. Eastern India is full of emotion. And I built up certain emotion statement. I said, look, ownership is there very hard. You are a mother plant, and all the statements was made. The union leader, to my surprise, said, sir, you give me a figure, we will sign it right now. Since you are visiting our plant first, we want to make it historic. I was surprised, I was not prepared. I had a mandate with the management. Typical HR mindset, I reduced 500 from there. I said, okay, 4,500. If you agree, we can sign it right now. The guy just stood up from his chair and came, Nadeem sir, since you have said, we will sign it. I was surprised. Look, this guy is signing at a 500 less. So fine, I could give that because the chance was not there. We signed that agreement. And we used to have another plant in Haldia. Normally the agreement rate would be similar. So when we are signing the Haldia agreement, we have to give them 500 more. There is an issue which I think Siddharthi sir was mentioning about courage, and some of you have also talked about the courage of HR. So when we signed the agreement, we were discussing this piece in the executive council meeting, and I think there the management said, look, whatever we have signed, I think we have said. I was of the view that no, we are cheating the Shamnagar plant. The trust will be lost if we don't give another 500. And the management said, if you open the agreement today, you have to open all the agreements. I said, so be it, I will handle that. But I think the cost of losing trust is too high. And I think management agreed to my view. And I think we went back and did that. And that is the trust which works. And I think that is one example which I want to state as to where we are in. Looking at the change management, the other example which I wanted to give is, when I was in Tata Steel, we had a lot of employees who were taken on roll simply because steel plant, a lot of death used to happen. And we would typically take their wives or daughters or sisters who were typically uneducated, not doing much. They were surplus to the workforce, and they were mostly into sweeping job. When Tata Steel was reducing manpower from 73,000 to 45,000, looking at the market scenario, in the time what we said, what do we do with these people? So one thing, emotion again came back, Eastern India. They have lost their husband, their sons, and that's the reason we have given them job. How do we ask them to go back? What is the thing we can do? So almost it was decided. I was not a very senior guy, but yes, I was reasonably senior in Tata Steel at that point in time. I still remember the meeting happening with the vice president level, and the decision was, okay, we'll ask them to go unless we can retrain them. So I said, give me a chance. Let's see what we can do. So I picked up a small task force with all these ladies and see what we can do with them. To your surprise, for the paucity of time, I'm not going into detail. We came out with a Tejaswini program, and we trained each of the unskilled people, something which Sanjay was also talking with a lot of passion. We trained each one of these ladies into forklift drivers, into locomotive drivers, into payloader drivers, and they used to run these locomotives and payloader with a lot of pride. And it was a disbelief by all line managers that the woman can do this job and do that so beautifully. It's a question of conviction. It's a question of how do you look at talent differently and how you can best utilize them rather than pegging them that since they are women and they are uneducated at best, they can only sweep the floor. So I think it's a paradigm shift required, but I think it's how you engage with the people and see what are the capabilities which they have and how you can unleash them. So this is the second story. Do I have a time I think my time is up. So I think I will stop here, and thanks for all of you for listening with patience.
Thank you, Nadeem ji, for a wonderful story and running through your rich experience and all. Thank you so much for being there. I pulled up the speaker of part 1 as well. Yeah, thank you for your all contribution. But before I do all other formalities, I want to give a I want Mr. Raju Badoriya call drop because of the network problem. Sir, closing remarks from your side, then we can do rest of the formality.
I think almost closed, in fact, basically. See, and I'm taking cue again from Nadeem, that human potential. I mean, women, that kind of thing is hidden. And therefore, the realization that sooner we call ourselves from human resource to human beings, that is the idea. We'll get that dignity back. And these 5,000 old traditions, those parables that I was talking about, they narrate to us that human potential. And we seem to have lost that understanding of it or realization of it. So I think we start calling ourselves humans rather than just human resource, because human resource gives us an idea about exploitative and an extractive character, wherein being a human would mean more regenerative and kind of restorative character. So we got to restore that dignity and autonomy of humans. And I think we can bear these pandemics and many such upsets, which we can always convert an upset into a setup. We can always convert those artificial, interferences, which are interfering our potential, which we as humans are kind of, to get away with. Once we realize that, yes, we can expand the vision, we can expand this potential, we can always choose to grow and make a choice to transform, so that from limited understanding of unconsciously being, incompetent to handle things like Corona, we become unconsciously competent to handle not only Corona, but many more of its variants and even other pandemics or other crises or upsets to come in life. That is the way for us to grow from human resource to human beings. I think that is one message that all these 5 parables that I narrated from 5,000 years of ancient Indian tradition actually exemplified beautifully. Thank you very much, I think. Thank you.
Okay, sorry. So thank you so much, everyone. And I invited another HR professional whom I know. I just pulled up from the participant list. There is no formula, there is no logic I did use. Sorry if I missed out. Okay, why somebody not picked up. Okay, so here I go to Mr. Captain Ved Singh to give a vote of thanks. We are running obviously short of time and people have other engagement and commitment. So, skipping obviously Q&A session, it's already 12:45 beyond schedule. Captain, over to you.
Thanks, Ashish. Thank you very much for bringing me into this session. So I think I'm here speaking on behalf of the listeners. What a fantastic pattern it is, and not just the learnings and inspirations, but I feel so connected to each of the panelists who has come in. So congratulations to everyone, and thank you so much on behalf of the listeners for sharing those amazing, wonderful stories. And on part of many HR professionals who are here listening to this session, and maybe whom we are connected to, I can share with you that I have personally seen a huge shift recently, and I'm seeing how each one of us is stepping up in terms of moving from an HR professionals to a business leader in each of the organization and domain that we are working with. Keep pouring in your wisdom in different forms to all of us. Thank you very much, Ashish.
Thank you so much, Captain. I like to take another 5 minutes, not 5 minutes, but from each one, 60 seconds. Okay, so one question I would ask, and the another thing is, just 1 or 2 words as a takeaway for all the delegates, which can inspire everybody, each one of us from your side. Just 1 or 2 words, nothing else. I'm sure most of you would be football fan. Okay, so just gauge the name of the country who will win Euro 2021. Okay, from a sequence, I can start from, okay, Dr. Sagarika, who will win Euro 2021? If you know who are the people in semi-final, which team? Okay, I think she's not there. Okay, Aparna, would you like to give some input? Who will win Euro 2021? There are 4 teams: Italy, Spain, England, and Denmark in the semi-final. Okay, Dr. Sagarika joining. Dr. Sanjay Muttal, and your 2 words.
England.
England will win. Wow. And any 2 words would you like to just share?
Make people and emotions part of your life, and everything else flows in life.
Humanness is coming again. Okay, I go from a screen point of view, I will go so I can see Mr. Sharad here. Mr. Sharad, who will win Euro 2021, and your last 2 words?
Heart is with Italy and brain is with England. Okay.
Okay.
So, and I will repeat, authenticity and personal integrity that will sail you through. You and your function, most important, the function. You may leave organizations, but your function is perennial.
Okay, thank you so much. Again, I'm saying in the semi-final, Italy, Spain, England, and Denmark. Okay, so you can pick up your choice. Mr. Siddiqui, who will win Euro 2021, and your last 2 words?
Looks like Spain. They will definitely win. HR as a business function, Ashish, and maybe very high quotient of emotional quotient of leadership. I think that will be the good combination to look forward.
Great. Thank you so much once again. Mr. Parthasarathi, as per the screen, I'm going. My screen. Yes.
Sorry, Ashish, I'm not a soccer fan, so don't have time even to watch soccer. Remaining of my time, I utilize for my green movement. I go for planting trees, saplings, making the world green. So I'm sorry, I don't have the time to go for the cricket or for the football for the time being.
Okay, your last 2 words, sir, for our HR community.
Well, I think we should be original. Whatever we are from within, outside also. We should not be behaving, like 2 different personality at the same time. So if you speak the truth. I always believe in a concept called, if you speak the truth, you don't have to remember anything.
Correct. So be original, okay? Speak the truth. Thank you so much. Mr. D.K. Bakshi.
Yeah, I would go in terms of competency Spain, but I am today a follower of England because after many decades, they have gone forward.
England,
and for HR, I would give a message which is part of the COVID ability competency, which I talked about. Power of compassion leading to power of care, leading to power of commitment, leading to power of competence, leading to power of capability, and leading to power of connect to serve all the stakeholders.
Great. Power of connection, network, and all this, yes. And that's coming from energetic D.K. Bakshi. Mr. Srinivasan, as per my screen, I'm going. So randomly, I will picking up, not the randomly, but it may be random for you. Yes, Mr. Srinivasan, who will win Euro 2021 in your last 2 words? Sir, you need to unmute. Just check your mute icon. Yes.
Yeah, I think it is England. England is what I bet for. England.
England. Okay.
You can get me. And insofar as 2-3 words or 1 sentence that you talked about for HR professionals, the message, I think be empathetic, build understanding, be humane, and be very genuine and authentic all the time and bold. These are a few words. I think it's a little more than a few words, but
yes. We need a little more even in today's scenario to encourage us. Thank you so much. Okay, as for my screen, I'm going to now Mr. G.P. Rao. Sir, over to you.
Good morning, good afternoon to everybody. So far as soccer is concerned, it looks like England. Now about the parting words, one from my side, one from the audience side, which I received. From my side, HR will remain always vital, powerful if you do three things, that is trust, transparency, and touch. This is what I have seen last 2 days. Now, one feedback from a young participant for you, Ashish. This platform has succeeded and put in a format where every speaker had to be brief, every speaker had to be unique, otherwise he will repeat what others have said. Every participant had to say something from his personal experience. So this is I received from a participant. I thought I'll share that. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Yeah, I'm reading. People are saying start podcast. Rich content I have seen yesterday and even it is coming today as well. As per my screen, I will again, Mr. Raju Badoriya, closing remark already done. Your Euro 2021, who will win?
Well, it will be, I think, Spain. And very truly Spain. But and the closing remark, I would just add that, make yourself HR redundant. That's the only success paradigm, from human resource to human beings. That is a main paradigm shift. We continue to call ourselves HR. That's the problem, this extractive and exploitative character of HR. And when we call ourselves human beings, we are doing that restorative and, regenerative mode. So that is how we have to explore the potential in this age of paradigm shift and accelerated growth and development. If we continue to call ourselves HR, I think we continue to be looking backwards.
Yeah. Okay, then I go to the next. Thanks once again, Mr. Raju. Dr. Aquil.
Thank you, Ashish. I think it would be England, hopefully. For the qualities, I think in last 2 years, one thing has emerged that HR has rediscovered empathy. And line managers have rediscovered the ability of HR to discover empathy. And that has played a very big dividend in shaping the way the business works. And what Nadeem was explaining about building trust, going back to people and say 500 rupees is not important to save, but those are things that were earlier considered little out of the way by business leaders. Today, if HR goes with the empathy to say, we will believe in people, we will believe in our word, I think we got to leverage that. Compassion, and I like the way H.N. Srinivasan mentioned, this must come from heart inside, not ratified or remembered, or in that seminar I heard about what to do. And the passion that DK was mentioning, I have a feeling, one last comment, that HR has really rediscovered itself and we must keep the momentum up. Not go back to Ghisa-Pita policies and Ghisa-Pita processes, and because HR does this, HR does that, we win this award and we win that place to work. But genuinely connect with people with empathy, and I think we would have made our mark.
Yes, so it's coming rediscovered. Thank you so much, compensate, and then the GP Rao triple T, I said touch and all this. Thank you so much. And okay, last one is Mr. Nadeem.
Okay, as usual, always the last, but I think so I would like to put it, I think, compassion is what I think is very critical. And the other thing which I would like to put stress on the HR capability to give business results. HR capability to give HR deliverables not important enough. So I think there's a fundamental difference in looking at how do you build capability. So I think these are two common concluding remarks.
Aparna is there. Ashish, Aparna is there.
Okay, yeah, we have diversity. Sorry, I forgot that I'm using diversity.
No
diversity.
Like Dr. Sagrika said, okay, go beyond diversity. Sorry, I'm bringing back to diversity. Okay, Aparna and Dr. Sagrika, what's your take on Euro 2021? Who will win, and your last two words? Aparna, you are on mute.
Yeah, I think it'll be England. My take. And I'll go back to what I said yesterday, and Ashish, that summary of life of an HR person. And I said, मुक्तसर की जिंदगी के अजब से अफसाने हैं, मुक्तसर की जिंदगी के अजब से अफसाने हैं, यहाँ तीर भी चलाने हैं और परिंदे भी बचाने हैं.
Wow,
right?
beautiful.
So human resources, we have to make sure that we are results oriented, but at the same time with empathy, with kids' gloves, and with ensuring that we do everything with care for people at heart. Right.
Yes.
So I think HR is human, not only resources, but human relationships. And it is time that we reinvent ourselves and
Right.
press the reset button.
Yes, thank you for that.
I think Aquil has really liked this share, and he
Beautiful.
remembers it.
In
Yeah.
fact, yesterday when you narrated this, it hit exactly the spot. You have to do both. You can't be Santa Claus, and you can't be only the hatchet man. तीर भी चलाने हो, परिंदे भी बचाने हैं. I would of course prefer to परिंदे बचाओ.
But ये तीर चलाना Akhil is very.
अरे शायर है भाई. DK, she's a real शायर यार.
Yes, sir. It's like
इसमें एक तो मुझे याद आ गया.
I think let's allow Ashish to.
Adil Malia.
Akil, let us allow Ashish to moderate.
I just finished.
Over to Ashish.
Yeah, I just finished up this exercise, then open for a discussion. Okay, so we have Mr. Sharad. I'm not sure whether did I cover you or not. Okay, I go to Dr. Sagrika here. Yes.
You did cover me.
Okay, sorry, I forgot that. Yeah. Yes, Dr. Sagrika.
Well, thank you. My vote goes for Spain. I would, but can't predict. No crystal ball gazing here. I would like to think that, especially for the business and the organization, is believe in your people. Deliveries, metrics, etc. are of course non-negotiable, but you cannot build a business without compassion and empathy. So for me, HR is being humane and with our being resilient. And thank you, Mr. Rao. He always mentions this.
Yeah, that has been my slogan. Be human, be resilient, you'll successful.
Triple T, right, Triple T. Okay, so I go to the last one here. Captain Ved, what's your take on 2021 Euro?
So I think the best bet is England, but Spain has a good chance. And that also comes out in our vote. And I was seeing yesterday, 70% people are voting in for Spain.
Spain, wow. Right. Last two words from your side, Captain.
So I think a lot has been spoken, but being true to yourself and being true to your people, I think that can take us a long way ahead. Just picking up from everyone. And second, being also true to the business that we are running.
Great. So all the way it is coming humanness and all, be empathetic and all. Okay, and right now we have 130 delegates and we touch upon 200. And this was not possible without each one of you, those who were attending. Yeah, and all our HR legend, super class HR leader. This part 1, part 2 is over. There will be a part 3 and part 4. Those who couldn't attend, couldn't accept the invite because of their busy schedule and all. Sir, now open for any conversation with each one of you. This platform is live for 10 minutes, 15 minutes, 20 minutes. Anybody like to stay, please be there. Anybody want to come in the screen and connect with us, let me know.
Ashish, I would like to add one point. If you notice, is Sanjay Muthal online?
Yes, he's there.
Now, when he narrated, the emotion in his voice was the indication of his authenticity.
Yeah.
I think if we can develop that type of authenticity, people will notice and they'll believe us. Because it didn't require words from Sanjay to say what happened to Sahai's family and how his girl came and hugged him. I think his voice itself shows how authentic his impact was. And I think if we can be blessed with that quality of authenticity, that people will understand what we say, that will be the biggest gift.
Thanks, Aquil. Thanks for picking that up. Absolutely. I think authenticity at the core is, and it is, authenticity is one thing which is completely non-negotiable, right? Either you are or you are not. It's not on the score of 1 to 10, like an integrity. You can't be 8 on authenticity and 7 on authenticity. Either you are or you are not.
You're not.
It's the only binary which is acceptable. It's the only binary in the world that is
absolutely.
acceptable.
It's 100% I agree. I don't agree. I agree.
Rajiv, what did you say? By
I said this is the only place where binary is acceptable.
Binary.
Very true.
Otherwise, binary world is a terrible world.
Very true.
And I came across one different analogy of HR. HR is either human or resource. Okay, like yesterday, Prithvi was saying, it's heart and result. So there are various innovation and discovery happening in terms of,
Ashish, again, let me remind, I'm sorry for having kept in again, I just spoke the same thing. It's actually human, and human only. This resource bit is adding that extractive and exploitative character. And I'm telling you, this all the kind of, carriage of the past, we are carrying that burden. Unless we people don't stop saying this HR. What is this human resource? We are a human resource department. We are people management people. You can't manage people even today, these days. Who likes to be managed by anybody else in this democratized? We are not changing our vocabulary and we are not changing our mindset. The skill set and the tool set will never change.
Well said,
I agree, Rajiv. I mean, absolutely. See, there is a larger purpose for life, right? We have descended on this planet not to become successful HR manager or leave a big bank balance for your next generation. There's a larger purpose to all our existence. And if you pick that up, everything is a kind of it falls on your side as you walk ahead in life. So pick that purpose. I think there is a purpose behind us.
And Sanjay, you see, all the speakers, if you see, I've noted down, everybody was telling the same thing. And what a beautiful way in which Aquil summarized it, that authenticity can be felt. It need not be artificially built up. We are humans within. So all the 5 parables, if you note,
and just to complete, when we went to school, all of us were made a structured, robots. There is clear definition of right and wrong, and there is clear definition of this is good and this is not good, etc. And we're all prescribed certain way of life. There's a prescription to it. But I think we need to break those shackles. And just as Aquil said, just be as authentic as you are. The rest all falls in place. That's my.
Rajiv, GP here. We all have got one responsibility. We should discourage people on what is HR, what is the name of HR, what we should do. We should guide people and what we should do. Take care of people. Be authentic, create genuine relationship, trust in people. What we do, we should propagate that rather than get into this definition of HR, what should be nomenclature of HR. I really like this authenticity part, the genuineness part, people part. End of the day, it's people, results will flow. So this is what we should propagate to the young people. Ashish, thank you so much.
Can I share my...
GP, just a minute. I think I just need to talk a bit. It's not the nomenclature change. I was talking exactly what you said, that we need to convert the conversation. We need to kind of, be human. It's not that I was talking of your belief system changes your behavior, and your behavior depends on the outcome depends. So what I'm talking about is not change of name, but we start treating people. That's what I said, extractive and exploitative to regenerative and restorative. That is the idea.
Rajiv,
idea.
Rajiv, the point here, sorry, Mr. Bakshi is trying to say something.
Nazim sahab, pehle aap.
No, please, you have.
Pehle aap.
No, see, the point which I'm trying to drive home is, even if you look at a panel today, we are mostly the average age would be 60 years plus, right? And today, if I talk to my son, who is in HR with 5 years of experience, the kind of work which he does is entirely different than what we used to do. Now, whatever we are talking is all gyan, which doesn't cut ice with the younger generation. I think in this panel, there is a need to bring these youngsters up and try and understand what is that which has changed and what is the skill sets and behavioral change we need to bring about. Because I think we are now a spent resource. This is my personal take on the subject. And there's a huge change the way the human resource function works today. And the capabilities which is required is also very, very different. Not taking away that end of the day, the humanness will continue as a common factor irrespective of which era we live in. But I think there is a paradigm shift into the expectations of what HR needs to deliver today in the organization. And I think we need to have a clear sight on that. And I think most of the time we are absolutely misaligned. Sorry, with a lot of humility, that's my point.
Ashish, Shrikant also wants to say something. Shrikant Kalyan Sundar, after Mr. Bakshi.
Yeah. In fact, what everyone is talking about is, I mean, that's what GP also said, trust, transparency, leading to togetherness. And with the COVIDability, with the COVID, what has really made us to be different, today the need is that we should have immunity of HR also, immunity of human also in our DNAs. Because I would like to give a share on this. समझ लीजिए ये जो है ये मेरे हाथ में दिया है एंड हवा बड़ी खतरनाक चल रही है कोविड की हवा चल रही है आज एक वेव है फिर डेल्टा वेव है पता नहीं कितने वेव्स हैं अगर हमारा इम्यून सिस्टम ऑफ ह्यूमन रिसोर्सेज रिमेन पावरफुल एंड देन आई कुड से अब हवाएं ही करेगी रोशनी का फैसला अब हवाएं ही करेगी रोशनी का फैसला जिस दिए में जान होगी वो दिया रह जाएगा वो दिया रह जाएगा दैट मीन्स ये दिया इतना पावरफुल होना चाहिए जान होनी चाहिए ह्यूमन रिलेशन ह्यूमन रिसोर्स so the important point what Nadeem Saab talked about is when you meet today an HR leader 35 38-year-old they have a different mindset. Can we bring them up? Can we create this thing? Because don't forget, we are the producers of that generation. We have the experience to give it to them. And they need to touch this experience and make trust, transparency, togetherness part of life. Thank you very much.
Aparna, इसका जवाब तो देना चाहिए आपको इसका जवाब तो देना ही चाहिए परिंदे भी मारने हैं और तीर भी चलाना है You're on mute. DK.
Sorry. Yeah.
I was saying Adil देंगे जवाब शेयर में. I don't know if he's around.
Okay.
Ashish, there is one participant, Yashwant Chauhan.
He's there. Okay, I'm just taking a cue from Aparna share. जो परिंदे भी बचाने तीर भी चलाना है तो उस हिसाब से HR has to be रजनीकांत, you know, एक ही तीर में 4-5 निशाने हो जाए.
But Ashish, jokes apart, the fun apart, the humor apart, one of the fundamental message of this share is life and management and leadership is managing dilemmas.
Yeah.
Always we have these dilemmas. People who grow up young or old, with maturity you manage dilemmas.
Correct.
So that is what it says. That's what it says.
Very well said, GP. Very well said.
And अभी COVID ऐसा हुआ है sir, we keep hearing and telling a story of शेर आया, and actually जब शेर आया तो we were not ready how to face the शेर, you know. Okay, so we have two delegates join. They want to share something. Be very crisp. Yashwant and Shrikant. Shrikant, I start with you, then go to Yashwant.
Yes, thanks Ashish. It was a great platform, great learning today. It's the story of what doctors shared, the similar story with one of my close friends. 24th of April, we are watching the IPL till 12:30 in the midnight. 25th afternoon, 12 o'clock, one of his friends called me, is no more. The entire family was shattered. He's just the age of 30. The age 30.
Oh no.
He got discharged on the evening of 23rd of April. And he had taken a housing loan of 50 lakhs. Can you imagine how the family is? Last week, I got an amount of sum insured of 80 lakhs, which was not known to his family. He has taken a life insured on an online portal of an insurance company, which came through his email. So I helped the family to log into that email, search for any other things, insurance is there or not. Luckily, we got that part I followed up with one of the insurance companies, CHRO, to help me to get this claim. Today, this family, little bit, anyway, they lost their son, but to the load of 80 lakhs, the 50 lakhs of home loan, they are able to cope it up. So this is one story I want to share in this platform. What this empathy is.
Thank you, Shrikant. Thank you so much. Okay,
Shrikant, thank you so much, Shrikant.
Welcome, doctor.
Yashwant, over to you. You're on mute, Yashwant.
Yes, very good afternoon, everyone, and thank you, Ashish Gadkarji, Dr. G. Pralsa, from bringing me in. It is really indeed a wonderful, experience today to listen to all the galaxy of esteemed speakers. So many powerful learnings which were shared with all the participants, and I feel really privileged to be listening to you and taking my journey as a professional forward. Thank you so much. I would just like to thank each one of you from the core of my heart for making HR really absolutely vibrant, purpose-driven, and focused with a value-based leadership for the future. Thank you so much.
Hey, Ashish, this is Ved.
Yes.
Maybe I would like to jump into the shairi part of it. A small 2 lines. परिंदों को मिलेगी मंजिल, परिंदों को मिलेगी मंजिल, ये उनके फैले हुए पर बोलते हैं, वो मंजिल होगी खूबसूरत, ये हमारे लीडर्स के अनुभव बोलते हैं.
Very good, very good, very well.
वो आपने तीर को खत्म कर दिया है, इसका मतलब तीर नहीं चाहिए.
एक शेर मेरी तरफ से, एक शेर सुनाता हूँ, जरा गौर से सुनो. एक शेर सुनाता हूँ, जरा गौर से सुनो, मुझे नहीं आता, किसी और से सुनो.
Okay.
Thank you once again.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Ashish.
Thank you, Ashish. Everybody, thank you very much. Pleasure to be with all of you.
Thank you. Thank you. A great platform.
Yeah.
Thanks, sir.
Thank you, Shrikant.
Ashish, great initiative. Great initiative.
Thank you. Very, very impressive, inspiring, genuine share. You should write in the LinkedIn about this.
Yes, sir. Yes, I will do, sir.
I will write and tag me.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
I'll do, sir.
Shrikant, be there. Yashwant, be there. Thank you, Dr. T. P. Rao.
Thank
you.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Thank you.
Captain.
GP Rao, sir.
Thank you, Dr. Rao, sir.
Thank
Thank you so much.
Thank
Take
you,
care.
Ashish, for taking leave of this.
Thank you.
So, Shrikant, what's up? What's going on?
Bolo, sir. You are working, man.
I don't know, man. I mean, just doing little bit. Acha, listen, what I'm doing, I'm just looking at the possibility. Okay. अपना जो ये है ना यूरो का मैं लाइव टेलीकास्ट करूंगा.
Okay.
Ask people to join and have a celebration together.
Very good. तो कितना बजे?
मैं सेटिंग करूंगा. देख अभी 2 सेमीफाइनल हो रहा है.
हाँ मालूम है.
So which is happening? Okay, first semi-final is Wednesday, which is mean Thursday morning 12:30. Second semi-final is Friday morning 12:30. Then then Monday को final है.
अच्छा, okay.
ठीक है.
Yes.
So Monday को final है, और then I will see कि live telecast करके let's join guys, on a Zoom पे and देखते हैं, मजा करते हैं. हाँ, स्क्रीन दिखा दूंगा. साहिल आ जाओ गैंग में. मदन जी, good to see you. I'm pulling some of you as a Sahil Chatty में बैठे.
How are you?
Good. I saw your video.
Video चालू करना.
अच्छा, who else? Anybody want to join, guys? Just we are going to have a formal conversation, casual conversation, I would call it. Okay. Still, it is recording. Please take care of your word and the veg or non-veg dialogue. Okay. Yeah. Let's
It's been recorded, right?
Yeah, this is being recorded. CCTV. Who else I can see known faces? Okay, everybody is known, but I just want them to raise the hand in case they want to join us. So Yashwant, what's up? Rajan Patel. Oh.
Yes, Ashish ji, thank you. First of all, for organizing such a very powerful session. It was amazing to see, so many leaders from the industry who are legend in their own ways. So wonderful, wonderful. I deeply appreciate your efforts on this. And I think this sort of initiative must be continued and collaborated, across.
See, Yashwant, मेरा next target था 50 को लाने का. Okay, 25 का करना था मेरा था. वो करके बाद there were people even till the end, So I had a target to get 50, but many of them couldn't make it. Now next one I'm looking for is at the global level.
Okay.
Wonderful, wonderful.
So global level पे लाने का next, people like बड़े नाम ले सकता हूँ, but Dev हो गया, Josh हो गया, Jasan, and there are many people, right?
No, that would be great, surely.
Great. So we have Sahil, Rajendra, great. Madan, in case you are sitting in a chatti, please don't switch on.
I'm not switching that on just now. I'm not sitting in chatti, but I'm not presentable.
Okay, no issue, sir, no issue.
Yeah.
Anandi, welcome.
It was a great session and a lot of learning.
Yes.
Excellent, I'll tell you. Superb.
Okay, and so Euro World Cup के लिए भी join करने का?
Yeah, sure.
It will be live from a Zoom, and we will cheer up for a goal of England, Spain, Denmark, and which is the fourth one? Italy. Okay, people are banking on Italy and people are banking on Spain and England. Okay, bolo Sahil, Rajan, what's up?
All good, nice. After a long time, Srikant, you all the good.
Hi. Hey, hi, Rajendra. Hi.
Hi, Sahil. Hi, Srikant.
Sahil, you never spoke anything today.
After a long time seeing each other, it's
virtual meeting.
Correct.
Ashish, thank you for such a wonderful session, yaar. इतना कुछ सीखा है, फिर भी इतना कुछ सीखने को मिलता है in a life. Thanks to you, for organizing all such wonderful session.
Rajendra, yes, you can thank me, but more than that, these people need thanks, big way. But
Yeah,
they agree for 10 minutes. That was their humbleness, I can say. They follow the discipline, time management. That was another humbleness. Plus, it was huge, rich content was coming,
Definitely, it was a real treasure. It was a real treasure for us. It was a real treasure, I can say.
This format is brilliant.
Yeah.
Because 2 ghanta, 3 ghanta is very boring. Here you have 10-15 speakers and over 2 days and just 10 minutes, and they stuck to their time. So I think that was superb. Right? So because what they can say in 10 minutes, I think so now you got India, now you have the world map also with you. The Josh and the Dave and all the other people in various parts of the world. Ashish, I have a suggestion for you. What we can also do is Clubhouse is becoming very active. Are you on Clubhouse?
Yeah.
Yeah, so maybe we can experiment with a session on Clubhouse also, because a lot of people from all across the world on various topics are having beautiful rooms on Clubhouse.
Yes.
When you are doing Zoom, we can also do something for HR shapers on Clubhouse.
What is it? That is HRM's Clubhouse, right?
No. Clubhouse.
No, yeah, you can create a conversation, group create कर सकते हो, conversation create कर सकते हो.
A lot of people are going on Clubhouse, Srikant, and it is, all millennials, senior leaders, influencers. It is beautiful.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, they put in, just jot down their views there. Like they have some sort of panels there on LinkedIn also. There are a lot of groups going on. Yeah.
You're right, yeah.
And actually audio format है it's not a video.
Audio format
yeah, it's audio format. तो उसमें आपको कुछ ऐसा appearance का कुछ issue नहीं है. Just आपको एक
on audio. Yeah, there is no video.
Silo place में रह के थोड़ा voice पे थोड़ा वो देखना है बस और कुछ. Great, yeah.
But nice to see you after a long time. I'll.
Shrikant, but तेरा story बहुत अच्छा था यार. This is really nice that you helped this person out very nice. But obviously you can't replace the life. But
No, we can't replace the life. But
at least you helped out with the monetary assistance, which otherwise they would not have known.
This guy has got engagement. I was supposed to marry on 9th of May. It's a love marriage. Can you imagine the shock?
He was in your company, working in your company.
Yeah. He's also my. I think we are chatting. रात को हम लोग बैठ के